Welcome in to DVD here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you from Barrel House, downtown Nashville Arena. The Predators wrapping up an optional morning skate. They will take on the Edmonton Oilers tonight, and the Oilers also will have an optional skate. Adam Vingan will be with us a bit later. He is doing a little side work for his group at Sportsnet with a Canadian team in town. He's doing a little coverage for them, so he'll join us here in a few moments. D-Mace, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just waiting on a good game tonight. It being Halloween, so hopefully we can get a lot of treats and not too many tricks tonight on the ice, unless we are tricking them.
Yeah, a hat trick would be fine.
A hat trick would be
for
great.
The Preds, not against them.
Absolutely. Would it be wrong of me to say if we get a hat trick on trick or treating to throw mask on the ice or throw candy on the ice?
I
don't want to encourage it, but they would do it anyway.
It'd be pretty funny.
Exactly, yeah. It would be pretty funny. Throw your costume on the ice.
I think that would be a good problem to have.
I believe
in that.
Did it. It's going to be a hat trick today by the Preds.
Yeah,
somebody's going to get a hat trick today.
Okay,
calling it.
I'm calling it.
I'm all for that.
If it was a pick the click or a call your shot, this would be mine. Trick by somebody tonight.
As most of you know, the Predators have struggled the last few seasons against this particular team, the Oilers, who are an outstanding squad. Both teams are not where they want to be at the start of their season. The Predators are 3-0-1 in their last 4 games, but after the 0-5 start, trying to dig out of a hole. And in similar fashion, the Oilers have not played the way they want to either, not nearly as poorly as they did last year at the start, where they famously fired their coach. They won only 2, I think, of their first 11 games. They're 4-5-1 right now. So both of these teams trying to move up and get more points. Edmonton, of course, is playing without their superstar, arguably the best player on the planet, in Connor McDavid. He is back in Edmonton, and he'll be out a couple of weeks. Elliot Friedman is going to join us at 1 o'clock. We'll get more details on what he knows about what's happening with Connor McDavid and the state of the Oilers. The Predators have a lot of work to do. They practiced yesterday, so we pretty much see what they're going to do tonight. Should be UC Saros between the pipes for them. So Adam will join us here very soon. We'll talk more about the Predators later. We've got silly underdog picks today at noon. That will be fun. Chris Sanders will be gloating, just to forewarn everybody.
Just a little bit.
He's going to be in a good mood. He's always in a good mood, but when he wins, and he got some action on his side, he's going to be in a particularly good mood today.
Yeah, he will be, and it's going to be it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. I could just picture. Can we skip that segment, or at least can we mute his mic when he's talking?
You might do what you need to do to get through that part of it, but we should have a lot of fun, as we always do with the underdog picks. You'll have a chance to make a pick for the people if you want to be a part of that. Make a people's pick. If the underdog wins outright, you'll have a prize that you can win. The World Series has wrapped up. Mm-hmm. Congratulations to Nashvilleian Mookie Betts and the Los Angeles Dodgers for a World Series victory in impressive fashion, comeback fashion last night. One of the more notable comebacks in World Series history. It's the first time a team has ever trailed by 5 or more runs. Mm-hmm. And come back to win in a clinching game. There's only been a handful of games where there's ever been a comeback that big. And, of course, the Yankees helped them out quite a bit. It was a meltdown by the Yankees defensively to allow Los Angeles to get back in the game. Although the Yankees retook the lead after that, still had a chance to win, extend the series to 6 games back out to L.A. Did not happen. And a special shout-out to Vanderbilt alum Walker Buehler, who had an unreal comeback. He's had 2 Tommy John surgeries, just an awful year trying to get back in pitching shape. He really came through for them in the postseason, particularly the last 2 rounds. He won Game 3 at Yankee Stadium, and then last night on 1 day's rest, they decided, look, this is our chance. Let's go for it. He came in and got the save and finished it. So that was a proud moment, I think, for everybody who's followed Vanderbilt baseball. It's like, that's Tim Corbett, that's the Vanderbilt program, that's Walker Buehler. Great stuff.
That's another notch on coach's Coach's belt. Guys that come through Corbin's program and ultimately go on to play in the major leagues, and then you win a championship. Those are things. Those are. It's great for Walker, obviously, but those are sort of like building blocks for a program, because what happens is they get to go out and recruit and say, "Hey, listen, look,
Did you
look
see
at-
the World
exactly,
Series?
Did you see the World Series? I coached him. He came through Vanderbilt. Stuff like that. So it always helps when you can have an individual that went through your program that had success at your program, and then he goes on to have success, in the major leagues and ultimately wins the championship. So that's always a plus for a program.
And Mookie Betts, his third world
10.
championship as a player, and only 30, 31 years old, maybe. He plays out west. The Dodgers get a lot of accolades out there. His second with the Dodgers after winning one with the Red Sox, but slowly but surely he's putting together a Hall of Fame career here.
Yeah.
This is really something.
Yeah, I wonder if because he's been in the major leagues how many years now? Has it been 10? Has it been 10?
Close to 10. I think it was 2016 or 2015 that he came up. I'm gonna look it up right now.
I wonder if he would ever think about.
So he's 32
okay,
now.
As he ending his career, and he has years before before that even comes into play. But would he love to play closer to home? To sort of finish out those last years, whether it be with the Braves. I know Chase would love that.
Oh, he could dream about that all he wants. I don't think the Dodgers are going to comply. It's interesting.
But I'm just saying, toward the end of someone's career, maybe he's still playing good baseball, but they're looking to move on. Would he be, open to joining a team closer to home?
It's interesting. The big part of his career. So he's now played 11 years in the bigs. He came up in 2014. His first full year was 2015 with the Red Sox. I think every day that goes by, there's probably thousands of Red Sox fans that are sitting there going, "Why in the world?
Why did we
trade him? Exactly. That was so dumb." It's one of the dumbest things I think the Red Sox have done. Really, and you can argue that the legend of they sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees and all that stuff, the curse of the Bambino and everything. This doesn't top that, but it's also it's up there with, if you started to list the worst decisions the Red Sox have ever made, letting a player like that get away. And so the Dodgers signed him to something like a 12-year contract. So if you want Mookie Betts, you better come strong to get him. But he drove in the winning run last night, the go-ahead sacrifice fly. So he continues to build his legacy. And speaking of the Braves, the MVP of the series is Freddie Freeman.
Another Brave.
Another ex-Brave. An ex-Brave who
ex-Brave, yes.
They won the World Series in 2021. He had a great year for them. They had the contract dispute. It's an interesting thing to follow since then. So Freeman helps lead the Dodgers to the World Series. Great performance by him after he had a bad ankle. He homered in the first 4 games. He carried them offensively. And the Braves, meanwhile, have won a ton of games since Freddie Freeman left. They made a very smart move to sign Matt Olson, who has been a tremendous replacement for him, who's a great guy as well. But you always wonder, that sentimental thing about Freddie Freeman, who meant more than just, a player. It's like Derek. It's a little bit like a Derrick Henry kind of thing. I know in retrospect, right now, it is really tough for a lot of Titans fans to watch Derrick Henry do his thing every week for the Ravens. And you're like, man, why did that happen? Wait a minute. Why did that happen? Yeah,
it's just.
But there are reasons why it happens.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It had ran its course here in Nashville. Not when I say that, I don't mean I don't mean something bad. I just mean we knew what we were going to get out of Derrick Henry. We knew that, and he wasn't. It got to a point, he wasn't going to elevate this roster, by 3 or 4 games, because that's what they would have needed. He would have elevated the roster maybe to a game. Yes, I can see that. But when you're talking about keeping a guy as he's aging, and yes, he's still playing good football, if he's not worth, 3 to 4 wins, then teams look, especially if they're in that transition, they're looking to get younger, and they're looking to sort of move in another direction. So you can have a bunch of what ifs. I know the Sox got a what if with Mookie. Maybe there is a what if or what not with Freddie Freeman had he stayed in Atlanta, where would the Braves have been? Well, maybe they wouldn't have been able to get the guy that they got, Olsen, had Freddie Freeman still been there. So, things like that. But congratulations to Mookie, on winning another championship. Is this his first or second with the Dodgers?
Second with the Dodgers, and the third overall one with the Red Sox. The big theme of this, just from the Yankees' perspective, they had like a little league type of breakdown inning where it just was so shocking. They were up 5-0. Aaron Judge had hit a home run. He had a big slump. So the fact that he was breaking out was giving them some hope. Like, hey, wait a minute. If we win this game, they got to go back out to L.A. and who knows what can happen. The 2004 Red Sox did it to the Yankees, came down from 3-0. We just saw it in hockey where you saw the Oilers were down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Final. So crazy things can happen.
Yeah.
And you were starting to feel like they had a lot of momentum. And then I was trying to think of other examples in sports where just simple fundamental breakdowns cost the team. Like Aaron Judge dropped a fly ball. He hadn't made an error the whole year, the whole season in center field. He dropped the easiest fly ball you'll ever see at the worst possible time. It kind of opened the door a little bit. They made another error, which was a little tougher play from their shortstop. And then the Cardinals the pitcher, Garrett Cole, the Yankees' best pitcher, doesn't cover first base on a grounder to first. He just had
that's routine.
Yeah. It's like, little league.
Exactly.
You could understand if an 8 or 10-year-old did that, but you'd still be mad. You're like, wait, this is what we've been working on. This is what the fundamental building blocks. You've done it a million times. I was trying to think of other things. One of them that I came up with was J.R. Smith. Remember J.R. Smith forgot what the score was?
Exactly.
And LeBron looked like he was just ready to just like
snap his neck.
Yeah, just like, what are you? What? Wait, what do you think the score is tied? Or whatever it was.
We can go back to the infamous timeout with Michigan.
Chris Webber, the timeout.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, you can go back to things that, the what if, the pure basic fundamentals of the game, knowing that you don't have any more timeouts, knowing the score on the board and what you need to do, or the pitching, you got to cover first base if you're the pitcher.
Yeah.
When the first baseman is going to get the ball. Little things like that you just think like those should be routine things. You shouldn't even have to think about it to know this is what you do.
Yes.
And last night it did.
It just shows you that everybody's human.
Exactly.
It can happen. Adam, welcome in.
Hello.
We were trying to think about, could you think of other equivalent things on the big stage, like the Yankees defense in the last night?
I imagine you mentioned the Super Bowl, Falcons Patriots.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't
fundamentals.
That was just a total.
It was a meltdown for sure, but I don't know if it was just like easy fundamental things like a routine fly ball or covering first base, like just elementary.
Or you could
Chris Webber taking a timeout.
Mention that. I think that would have to be there. J.R. Smith, he got a rebound on a missed free throw.
Instead of going back up with the ball, he brings it out, not knowing the score. They're down. They're like, well, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So,
well, let me put the Yankees collapse last night into historical context, which I think Willie might really enjoy as a diehard Mets fan. The Yankees are the only Major League Baseball team to do the following: blow a 5+ run lead, allow 5+ unearned runs, commit 3+ errors, commit catcher's interference, and commit a balk, all in the same game, regular season or postseason, since earned runs became an official stat in both leagues in 1913.
Well, listen, if you're going to do it, you might as well do all of it.
I'd like to know how many regular season games that list of things has happened. The catcher's interference, the not covering first, on top of the errors. That's rare in any level of baseball, I would say, just to have those things listed. The Fox put it on a box in the bottom corner, listed, and he's got a picture of Aaron Boone. Poor guy is walking around going, "How did we get here? What's the deal?"
I'm gonna tell you where it happens in Little League.
Yeah,
that's where it happens.
Oh, and you would be
exactly.
They're 10. Yeah. It's gonna happen.
It was Aaron Judge who flubbed the pop fly, correct?
Yes.
It's a catastrophic mistake considering the situation that the Yankees were in. But that was a physical mistake. The Garrett Cole not covering first base, that is a mental mistake of epic proportions.
And he told, I read Tyler Kepner's account where Garrett Cole was trying to explain what he saw. It just didn't make any sense. I don't think he was, I hope he wasn't trying to throw a load of baloney at everybody. It just,
he just had a brain collapse.
And he should have just said that. Look, I got to cover.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
the ball's hit over there, it doesn't matter what I saw off the bat. I've got to go cover it. And he froze.
Mm-hmm.
He froze. Now, he had done an incredible job to overcome the first couple of errors, right? He had huge strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
He struck out 2 guys, so he's 1 out away from getting out of a big jam with no runs, where it's still 5-0. And I guarantee you, the second Mookie hit it off the end of the bat, Garrett Cole is relaxing. Whew, I did it.
Exactly.
I'm out of it. And he forgot to go cover.
Yeah,
first.
you got to trail. But it's sort
And it
of,
was the funky spin that threw him off. He saw
karma.
the ball on the foul line and said,
and thought it
I
was
don't need to
going-
go
exactly.
over
He
there. Yeah,
thought
the first baseman's going to be right there.
They'd be able to tag him. But it's karma. It is complete karma. Because what happened the other day, and the Yankee fans gloated about it.
Yes.
This is what we do. We
We
play
D up.
defense.
We D up. Yeah.
Okay.
The fans.
All right. Karma's gonna come back and smack you right in the face, and that's what it did.
One of the best parts of the post-game coverage last night, Mookie Betts went to the Fox Sports desk.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, after the game the other day, when the play happened with the
Mhm.
foul ball, he was very diplomatic about it after the game,
Yes.
saying it's irrelevant.
Mhm.
It happened early in the game. We lost. I'm moving on. After the game last night, he said that he's never experienced anything like that. Quote, I was telling my wife that was like the second time in my life I've ever wanted to fight someone.
I believe him.
My thought was, look, you can do all the things.
Mhm.
You're not allowed back in the ballpark.
Exactly.
Or, yeah, we're going to take you. Really, the punishment for that should be you should get your butt kicked. You should get your butt kicked
Yeah.
thoroughly and just be done with it and say that's the response that we get. I mean, forget. I know that's barbaric and that will never happen, but it's like when the guy runs on the field, the streaker
Yeah.
or whatever. Like,
You deserve to get
You
tackled.
deserve to get tackled hard.
Exactly.
And everybody
Absolutely.
will root for you to get tackled hard because you're
Absolutely.
being an idiot. And that's what I felt like with those guys.
Here's-
So I don't blame Mookie at all for feeling that way.
Here's
I would
what
too.
here's what I recommend. I think that those Yankees fans should get pummeled by a Mets fan in a Grimace costume.
Yeah,
How
That's
about
fair.
Well, let me ask you this, Willie, because
Can the Grimace? Does he have enough muscle tones, like really to bring it though? He looks like he needs to work
He
out
can
a
use
little
his
bit.
belly. Though.
Yeah,
he can use
he's-
his belly.
yeah,
You know.
there was a Saturday Night Live skit to that effect that recently, and I'll share with you guys during the break. But Willie, this is what I was curious about last night because I'm on record as saying that I am a very petty sports fan. If the team I despise the most loses, I take as much pleasure in that as my favorite team winning. So as a diehard Mets fan, were you taking pleasure in watching the Yankees completely unravel last night?
Yes. Come on, Willie.
Just say yes, Willie. It's
I-
okay.
I
you
don't.
enjoyed seeing it.
I don't.
You
root
didn't
for the
mind
Yankees.
seeing it.
I don't root for the Yankees.
You didn't mind seeing the collapse.
You didn't
you know,
mind.
Would have been better
I-
if they would have gotten swept.
No. I didn't want to see them win.
Mhm.
I'll say this though, I do like Aaron Judge as a person, and for a guy that good to be struggling that bad and then have that happen, I did feel for him a little bit,
Just a little bit.
but I was like, Yankees lost.
The Yankees.
Yankees
lose.
lost.
Hey, Yankees
Yeah.
lose.
Oh, my
That's what
goodness.
you wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
And for the record, the Mets were 4-0 against the Yankees this year. Just throwing that out there.
You can give yourself a pat on the back. I will allow it.
And the Mets took the Dodgers to 6 games. Yankees only took them 5 games.
Mhm.
So there's a little satisfaction there, but
Yeah.
you know,
Wesson Hermitage on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says that dude, I believe in reference to the Yankees fan who interfered with the foul ball, has obviously never had his rump busted, but he needs it. Both of those guys need a swift rump whooping.
but some people are, who was it? The Barstool guys had him over to the studio and had like a great old time.
Exactly.
Like, what is going on?
To me, stuff like that's irresponsible by Barstool. It
Yes.
encourages stuff
Right.
like that for people to do things like that. But they don't care. They don't care. They just want clicks. They just want people to watch
It's
it. I
weak.
get it. I understand, but
It-
it's weak. Like, you don't put somebody on television that just that entered into somebody else's workspace and disrupted their workspace, to a point where it could have.
He could have got hurt.
Actually, one, he could have got hurt. Two, that could have been a critical moment in the game. Now, it didn't lose him the game, obviously, but that's something that you don't want to see in sports. Like somebody interjecting themselves. Yeah, you paid a ticket, but that don't give you the right to interject yourself into the game like that.
Yeah, I'd feel totally differently if the guy caught the ball.
Exactly.
Because he's allowed to. If the ball's in the stands, the fan can
But
catch
you
it.
tried to take it
He had
from
already
him.
Mookie had already caught the ball.
Exactly.
Like, it was stupid. So this is what I will say as a person who does not root for the Yankees, wants to see them lose, all of that stuff. Yes, that's true about me. But I will say this about the organization. I think for the most part, they exude a lot of first-class stuff. If I were the Yankees, I would not want those fans in the park. They would be excommunicated from the fan base, and I would make a big
John
spectacle
Wick.
of it. I would make a big spectacle of it. I was like, you guys could
Ooh,
go.
a public flogging, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Oh no, I would just say these guys were
I'll
season
put
ticket
their
holders,
face up
and they are no
everywhere.
longer season ticket
I
holders.
will give them their
Thank you.
money back.
Yeah.
And a little bit incentive. I give them a couple of more dollars. Do not come back to my stadium again. My
Because that's
ballpark,
not
you're
what Yankee fans do. That's what I would say if I were running the Yankees, and I would feel like that about the Mets or any other team that I was with. You don't want that.
That's not cool.
There has to be an example made of that, or else the Barstool people are like, hey, we D'd up, man.
Exactly.
Hey, man, we tried to. That's over the line.
Yeah,
That's
the
over the line.
shouters by Barstool Sports that had
Yeah.
those guys on.
One texter says that Rob Gronkowski was apparently college buddies with
Yes,
those guys. He
and
went on Up and Adams
I
and said
saw
that they
that.
were
Come
some
on,
of his
Gronk.
friends from Arizona.
Come on, Gronk.
That does not shock me in the slightest
I
to
guess
learn
not.
that Rob Gronkowski is friends with those Yankees fans. But the Dodgers get the last laugh.
Ha!
That was very
Yankee
loud.
fans.
That was very, very
That
loud,
was for
Derek.
all Yankee fans right there.
I'm sure they can hear that all the way up in New York. By the way, one of my favorite things to do when stuff like this happens is looking at the back pages of the New York newspapers, listening to New York sports talk radio.
What was the best headline? Did you see him? I haven't looked.
It was I think it was like the end with 3 E's for each error that they committed.
That's creative right
the
there.
back,
good
the
at what
back
they do.
pages of the New York tabloids, it's fascinating stuff. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, a notable NFL draft analyst had some interesting remarks about young quarterbacks in the NFL today, and it relates to what we've seen in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson. It relates to what we've seen right here with Will Levis, and we'll discuss that next. But before we do, tune into 94.9 The Fan this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. for our college football game of the week, Florida versus Georgia. Presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports.
Football is back for another week. We got our Thursday night game, the Texans versus the Jets. So if you're going to be making your bet, you need to do it with our partners, Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that is bringing sports betting to a whole new level. And I mean that literally. You hear that word? Literally. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to $100, no danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. And now that football season has started, Zen Sports have launched their revamped betting platform for both college football and the NFL. And what's better, with the new look, Zen Sports will be offering daily promotions, including odd boosts, same-game parlays, no danger wagers, and so much more. Zen Sports also offers a one-of-a-kind VIP reward program. If you qualify, you earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, and even sport book bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for the VIP consideration, check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. So what are you waiting for, football fans? Start betting with Zen Sports, where you will receive true odds on all parlays and an enhanced user experience for all. Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at John Bon Jovi's Nashville this Sunday, right down the street from Bridgestone Arena. For the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m., they will break down the Titans' Week 9 matchup against the Patriots and give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sun Deck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you inside Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will host the Edmonton Oilers this evening. So the big news in the NFL this week was the Indianapolis Colts' decision to bench Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco. We've talked a lot around these parts about Will Levis, the development of Will Levis, the lack of development of Will Levis, however you would like to discuss it. But I heard something interesting from Mel Kiper Jr. He was on ESPN's Unsportsmanlike radio program talking about how you can't develop quarterbacks in the NFL anymore. This was Mel Kiper Jr. on Unsportsmanlike on ESPN radio.
Be part of that draft come late April.
Mel, anytime we're talking about a team drafting a quarterback at the top of a draft, they usually have to do a lot of losing. And if they have an incumbent head coach, he's going to be on the hot seat. So just curious, based on what you've seen in your decades of covering the NFL draft, seeing franchises try to develop quarterbacks, how does it impact a young QB when they're going into a situation with the head coach and potentially the general manager on the hot seat?
I think you want to be part of the head coach and GM. You want that head coach and GM to draft you and certainly have time. You mentioned the word, Chris, it doesn't exist anymore. Develop doesn't exist. They don't develop quarterbacks anymore. They force feed them. They expect them to be great. They don't like them to work through struggles. Struggles are not tolerated anymore from a young quarterback. Bad reads, inaccurate throws, interceptions. It's such the mistakes aren't tolerated anymore. You're expected to play at a 7-year veteran level when you're a rookie second-year quarterback. So the development, the growth of a quarterback to work through, make progress, you're not allowed to anymore. You're not allowed to because mentally and physically you're destroyed. You're destroyed by getting beat up because you're out there. Maybe somebody scored behind a bad offensive line, or they're getting beat up mentally by everybody. Media, fans, everybody saying, you stink. You shouldn't have drafted this guy. Let's draft this guy this year and get him out of here. That's what it wasn't like that back in the day. And now we're, like I say, we're chewing them up and spitting them out early. So the development of a quarterback doesn't exist. That's why I get down to who needs to go back. Get as much time in college as you are allowed to get. Get as many starts in college as possible. Eli did it. Peyton did it. Others have done it. Go back and get those extra 12, 13, 14, 15, and by the playoffs, if you get there, how many starts it'll be. Get those extra dozen-plus starts, and that will help you deal with the scrutiny and the expectations that are there for a rookie second-year quarterback in the National Football League.
That was Mel Kiper Jr. on ESPN Radio's Unsportsmanlike program. What do you guys make of that?
I'm not going to prescribe to all of what he's saying. Listen, I've been on the record as saying they don't develop quarterbacks in college. That's where it starts. They don't. Why? Because their thing is, I want you to win for me. We're not talking about developing you for the NFL. I need to win now. So by any means necessary, if I need you to be a running quarterback, then you're going to be a running quarterback. If I need you to be a statue inside the pocket, then that's what you need to be. I need you to do what I'm asking you to do to win football games here. If you are that good, then you will ultimately, your talent will show and you will make it to the NFL. But I am not here to develop you for the NFL. I'm here because you were amongst the top recruits coming out of high school, and I need to win football games. That's what I need to do. And then and once they get in the NFL, it's not about them not developing guys. It's the whole structure of collective bargaining now. You can only hold, like before, you could sign these guys to these 6- and 7-year contracts when you draft them in the first round. You give them all this money and you allow them to sit for at least 2 to 3 years, and then you play them, and then you're allowed to, and then you see what they got, and then you're able to sign the contracts. Now it's like you draft a guy now, the clock starts now. So you got to figure out what you got. No longer can I hide him on my roster for 3 years and then let him play for another 2 or 3 because he's on this long rookie deal and I don't have to worry about him no more. Rookie deals are not that long anymore, whether you're a first rounder, second rounder, or seventh rounder. These deals are not long no more. So you got to see what you have in these individuals. That's what Mel's not telling everybody. Is because of the structure of collective bargaining, because you don't have these years, these extra years to develop a guy, you have to throw him in there and you have to see what you got. And if it doesn't show in the first couple of years, you fall further and further behind the teams that are ahead of you with quarterbacks. So every team, they say, listen, we got to do something. Either we got to go out and get a veteran guy and allow the veteran guy to be the starter while the young guys sit, or we got to draft again. That's just how this league is. So the NFL college isn't, they don't develop guys. That's not their main goal, is to develop a quarterback. And then once you get in the NFL, it's not that we don't, when he says they don't develop guys in the NFL, what he's saying is that all NFL coaches, they don't know what they're doing. Basically, that's what he's saying. They don't know what they're doing. They want to develop these guys, but they understand they only got a short frame, like a window to develop these guys, because that contract is looming. It's there. Just like with Love, with Green Bay. They were forced to give him a 1-year deal. Why? Because that was the first year they were seeing him, and they wanted to hold on to him for at least another couple of years, but give him some incentive to want to stay.
Yeah, and then they signed him to big money after he was
after 1 year,
after one good year,
exactly.
Maybe arguably half or one half of a really good year.
Absolutely,
I agree with a lot of what he's saying. I think D-Mace is dead on, and I think the cycle continues. Right, I think that's what's frustrating is nobody's been able to really break the cycle. The same thing keeps happening over and over and over, where you get 5 new guys every year and everybody's excited. We got our guy, we drafted him, and then 4 of them fail, on different levels, right? Some just completely fall on their face. Others struggle for 2 or 3 years and then don't get the second contract. And then there's 1, maybe 2 that end up being the special guy. I've been saying this for years. They just don't ever come up with a developmental league where you could have the equivalent of the AHL in hockey or AAA baseball, where a guy can fail.
Or the D League. Or
the D League, right, where a guy can be developed without the scrutiny and without the consequences of whether you win or lose. That would be a perfect thing for the quarterbacks, but nobody ever even pursues it when you get down to it. And so I get Mel's point of stay in college, but Will Levis did stay in college.
Exactly.
He is older. Like, he did get extra starts. Now he had to go to a different place to play, so he didn't play 5 straight years where he was the starter. And that's an issue in college. Is for a quarterback, you could get caught behind another really good quarterback and not play, so you don't get the experience. Anthony Richardson is a great example of what Mel Kiper, I think, is talking about. He probably would have benefited from another year of college. But if everybody's telling you you're going to be a top 5 or 10 pick, it's hard to turn that down.
But we've seen guys. It's not about how long a guy stays in college. It's really not.
You don't think so?
No, because we've seen guys, especially now, let's say now, because back then that was the norm. Guys stayed at least 3 years, possibly even 4. More guys stayed 4 than 3 when it comes to quarterbacks. But even now, these guys, we see guys in college going on their 6th year. And have they developed any more than what they are? No, they haven't. Because these coaches now are there to win ball games. They're not there
You're saying
to develop
it's still
you.
so different
Exactly.
in the NFL than it is in college, even if you stay in college.
Absolutely. You can stay in college. Well, hell, Winky, what's his name? Winky.
Chris Winky.
Chris Winky.
Yeah. He was 28.
He went back to college. He was an older guy, and he still came into the NFL and wasn't no good. So it's not about how long you stay in college. You can stay in college for 20 years. If you're that good,
Rodney
you're just not
Dangerfield.
good. Exactly. You can be Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah. So that's why I'm not prescribing to everything that he says. I'm not saying everything he says is wrong. But when you say, well, guys should stay in extra, that's not going to help them. It's really not. Rarely does it help guys when they stay that extra year. If you are a top 5 pick, then come on out and sort of deal with it that way. Because we've seen guys, Matt Leinart could have been a top 2 or 3 pick. He could have been the first pick in the draft the year before he came out. Had he came out his junior year, he would have been the top pick. Go back to school, Matt Leinart. Go back to school. He goes back to school. It didn't help him much. Actually, he fell down in the draft, and then he turned out to be a horrible quarterback. So, again, when people see these young quarterbacks playing, there's going to be some that, like C.J. Stroud, that just, hit the ground running. It doesn't mean that these guys are developed or aren't developed. It's just that their natural ability and their gift to play that position is so much superior that, even if the development is coming slow for those guys, their talent in the meanwhile takes over. And then eventually they have to be, they have to be developed as quarterbacks as far as how they see the field, because that's what Jackson ran into. He was electric for a while, running around doing all this stuff. But when teams finally figured it out and started corralling him, he had to become a passer then. So what you're telling me so in Jackson's case, if Mel said they're not being developed as quarterbacks, Jackson wouldn't be where he is today if he hadn't developed as a quarterback.
Well, think about over the past 3 years. Think of all the quarterbacks that have been drafted over the past 3 years. I mean, the hit rate on drafting a franchise-altering starting quarterback, I imagine, is pretty low. And just think about
like 20%.
Right.
Best,
I mean, think about the past 3 years of quarterbacks that have been drafted since 2020 or 2021. How many of those guys are sure things right now? You mentioned C.J. Stroud. He looks like one of them.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels looks good.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Looks good.
Looks,
he slipped back a little bit, but he's still he's still he's
He's a
still
great
starting
success
quarterback.
story for sure.
He's still a starting quarterback. in
He's
this
a
league.
unique case.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence got paid like that type of quarterback.
Mhm.
Certainly hasn't played like it this season. But then you've got your Mac Joneses and
Mhm.
your Justin Fieldses and your Zach Wilsons and your Will Levises. It's hard. It's hard to find these
Bryce Young.
guys. Bryce Young.
Mhm.
Exactly. Anthony Richardson might now fall into that pile as well, considering what's happening in Indianapolis.
And again, it goes down. It's not that they're not developing.
Kenny Pickens.
Yeah, Kenny Pickens is the same guy.
Pickett.
Pickett. Yeah, not Pickens. Pickett. It's not that they're not developing these guys.
I've already forgot his name.
Because again, when you say that, you're slapping every quarterback coach, offensive coordinator in the face, and they don't know what they're doing. It's not that they're not developing these guys. They just don't have the time that they need, that they used to have to develop these guys. These contracts, these first round contracts are not as long as they used to be. So when you're talking about development, yeah, we're developing him, but it has to be on a fast track. And some guys don't learn that way.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on this conversation. Brian Callahan was asked about this yesterday with the news that Anthony Richardson had been benched. We've seen Bryce Young be benched. He has come back into the starting lineup because of an injury to Andy Dalton. But what does Brian Callahan think of all this and how it relates to Will Levis? We'll share that with you. Coming up next, Willie Dunnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Mark your calendar. November 9th, the Iron Goddess all-female show is coming to Nashville, sponsored by our friends over at Law Tigers. Meet us at the fairgrounds as female riders from all over the world will be in attendance. Come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sports bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets now at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. That's IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. Enjoy a day of live music, vendor village, tasty foods, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with paid tickets. So get your tickets today at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. Can't wait to see you there.
Tune into 102.5, 106.3 The Game this Saturday for Vanderbilt football. The Commodores will take on Auburn with pregame beginning at 10 a.m. and kickoff at 11:45 a.m. Coverage is also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. So we were just talking about Mel Kiper's thoughts on the lack of development of young quarterbacks in the NFL. And with all the news surrounding Anthony Richardson earlier this season, Bryce Young, the question is, how about the Titans and Will Levis? And Brian Callahan was asked about the balance of developing a quarterback versus trying to put a winning product on the field yesterday. This is what Brian Callahan had to say.
Between winning and development. I know you can't speak for Shane Steichen or Dave Canales or any of those guys, but when you are considering that, what are the factors in your head that kind of determine which is more important in a given moment?
We're in a production business, and that's the, at some point you reach that apex where we do have to win or show that we're improving. All of those things are all a part of it. And you really want to make sure that, the rest of the team feels the same way too. You reach a certain point where if they don't feel like that gives them the best chance to win, that's always the hardest part, because you got a bunch of guys that put their bodies on the line every week too, or it means something to them, and they don't take, they want them held to the same standards. If your position is not playing well, usually what happens? Find somebody else. And so sometimes that you get to a certain point where that also happens, where, guys are fighting and trying and fighting through injuries and playing hard. And they just sometimes want to make sure that the rest of it's in line with that too. And so that's where it gets tricky if you're not playing well and you're trying to develop and still win. So again, these are like really deep philosophical conversations for a Wednesday, but those are all the things that go into it.
So Will Levis, by the way, yesterday did return to practice. He was a limited participant with his right shoulder injury. No telling whether he will start this weekend against the New England Patriots. And by the way, speaking of young quarterbacks, Drake May on the other side in concussion protocol, he was also a limited participant for the Patriots in practice yesterday. So who knows if we'll see a battle of the veteran backup quarterbacks, Jacoby Brissett versus Mason Rudolph. But interesting comments from Brian Callahan, just because of the young starting quarterbacks in the news. And Will Levis, unlike Young and Richardson, although Richardson has been banged up, Levis has been out of the past 2 games because he's been injured. So there's a bit of cover there for Will Levis, but some interesting comments from Brian Callahan about what's been going on in the league, as well as how it relates to his own team and his own quarterback.
Yeah, each and every situation is different. We can't compare the Commander situation to the Titan situation. We can't compare the Indianapolis situation to the Titan situation, go the Bears situation to the Titan situation. And you can go down the list of, what you're trying to compare and what you're trying to do. Because each team is at a different point in their franchises, sort of development of their quarterbacks. This is what I talked about. This is the tough part about being a head coach, I believe, or just being a coach in general, is, trying to do what's best for an individual, all while trying to do what's best for the team. That, especially when that individual is so much a part of what you want to do as an organization. Like, how his development hinges on how the organization moves forward. So when it comes to a quarterback, everybody knows that the quarterback gets a longer leash when it comes to the development, whether it be, it don't matter what quarterback it is. They tend to get a longer leash when it comes to development, rather say, the wide receiver. Why? Because I can bench a wide receiver, but I got 5 other guys that I can bring in. He's going to play, but he's going to play sparingly. You can't do that with a quarterback. You can't, if you want to develop him and you want him to, be in there, you got to leave him in the game if that's what the plan calls for. So when you're looking at a quarterback, it's like, okay, how long can I allow this experiment? Because essentially that's what it is, an experiment. How long do I let this experiment go before I lose the team, or before guys start, looking at me like, hey, we're doing our job. He's the only person not doing his job. How long as a coach? So that's a fine line, and everybody has to be on board. That's the thing. Everybody has to be on board, from the owner to the GM to the head coach, about how are we going to proceed with this quarterback. Because if you don't, and you leave him in there too long, you're going to lose your locker room, because the guys are going to be, especially veteran guys, they're going to be like, listen, man, I didn't come here for this. I didn't choose to re-sign here and stay here so y'all can, allow this guy to develop for the next 2 or 3 years. No, either he got it or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, it's time to move on, because if you don't, you will lose your whole locker room. And again, once you lose your locker room as a head coach, the owner might as well come down and fire you right then and there, because you're never regaining it
Well,
back.
I think that's part of the problem too, is
Yeah.
the coach doesn't get 3 or 4 years
Exactly.
to wait for the quarterback to
Mhm.
sink or swim, because if your record is 10-28,
Yeah.
you're gone, right? And it's the next guy that inherits
Yeah.
the issue. So that's another part of the flaw in how quarterbacks are developed, and so that's part of why the cycle happens the way it does. I am wondering if we are going to see a bigger trend of middle class quarterbacks who maybe have not done great out of the gate, who have matured, survived, learned. And Sam Darnold, he'll be a really interesting one to watch. Is he coming back to earth a little bit? Maybe. But if he is a success story, we know Baker Mayfield's a success story, and this is what, his 4th team?
Yeah.
Mayfield, if you
Yeah,
include his little
Browns,
stop for the Rams.
Rams, Carolina,
Yeah.
and 14.
And he looks like he is a good solution for about $20 million less on the cap. Will there be more of these? Is that where teams should start looking for solutions? And the Titans could find themselves with that choice after this year. If they decide Will Levis is not a guy you hand the reins to for next year, but you're not sold on the quarterbacks coming out, maybe you're looking for the next Baker Mayfield / Sam Darnold, and not, we got to draft a guy with the first pick, and then here we go. Let's see if he's the guy. There might be a better choice.
615-737-1025. It's almost noon. It's Thursday, which means only one thing. It's time for Silly Underdog Picks. We'll do that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is time, once again, for Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. I now turn mic 1 to the commissioner, Willie D.
Willie! Oh, Willie D! Willie D!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Lenny D.
That was Louis.
It was Louis.
Yeah,
Louis D.
Louis D.
Welcome into Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, a contest that dates back to 1994 in these parts. So we have reached,
The Pearl Anniversary.
indeed we have, Adam. Yes, we have, the Pearl Anniversary. And the competition rolls on to week 10. Joining us, a panel of football experts. I say that sort of seriously. We have on the line with us the one, the only, Chris Sanders, the Ohio State Buckeye, who probably was sweating it out just a little bit. His Buckeyes had a little trouble. They had a little trouble with the Cornhuskers.
Don't even, Willie, don't even mention
You're
the
saying he's
Buckeyes.
not watching?
He's not even watching.
He's not
Ohio
watching?
State. No, he's not watching.
You weren't
Ohio
watching?
State. No, he wasn't watching.
Chris.
I don't want to say it. Yo, D-Mace.
He don't even care about Ohio State right
Chris was catching up on the Golden Bachelorette
now. Exactly.
during the game.
That's my show, man. Yo, oh, yeah. Hey, Adam. How you doing, man?
Anytime I see an advertisement for that show now, I'm like, I wonder if Chris is watching it right now.
Champ, I do. I'm watching it. It comes on tonight.
Oh, he's excited about that. He's excited about that.
Don't knock on the door for Halloween candy at Chris's house. He will not answer. He's watching the Golden Bachelorette.
Hey, Chris, I know where you live. I'm going to cut
Yes,
the
sir.
cable. I'm going to cut the cable cord. I'm going to come
Hey,
right after it's coming on, I'm going to cut the internet cord. You ain't gonna be able
Are you
to
gonna
watch
wear
it.
like the Freddy Krueger costume, like it had with the knives? You know, the foot just slash it.
Just gonna slice it. There you go.
All right, I believe we have the the suit. Chase McCabe, is he on the line with us?
I am here.
Now,
Hey,
suit.
buddy.
He was, speaking of horror movies and Halloween, he was deemed by the panel of Robbie and Rexroad the most likely host on our station to be taken out by the bad guy
Yeah,
in the slasher movie.
by Freddie or Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Anyone.
He'll
to know.
trip and fall.
Yeah.
Look, I came prepared for this. And Adam's going to appreciate this clip I'm about to play. But this, if I was in a horror movie, this is exactly how it would go.
Your ear.
Dad, you killed the zombie Flanders.
He was a zombie?
That's how it would go.
I will say, Chris, we did receive multiple texts that you would be the one to convince the killer to see the error of his ways.
And change his life.
Yes.
You would tell him to either get better or get bitter. He would choose to get better. He would put down the machete, the chainsaw, whatever he's using to murder all of the co-eds, and he would
Oh,
turn
my
his life
goodness.
around because of
Oh,
you,
my
Chris
goodness.
Sanders.
No, man. What would you do, D-Mace?
I would be dead. Everybody knows that. Come on, Chris. Yes.
D-Mace.
Chris. No. Chris. We are
D-Mace.
talking about
D-Mace.
Chris. We're
You
talking
were
about
fussed at
scary
him.
movies. We're talking about
I
scary
can-
movies. Who dies first in scary movies? It's two
Oh,
people that dies
Yeah,
first in
yeah.
scary movies. Everybody
Yeah.
knows it.
They
Everybody knows
trip
it.
and fall. It's like, why?
Exactly.
Why?
It's either the blonde or the black guy or black girl. It doesn't matter. We always die first.
Hold on. D-Mace, when the credits come on. we
Exactly.
gone.
Before the credits are done, we gone. That's why I was so. I was watching
Okay.
Halloween 3 or 4 last night,
Oh,
and
it's
I forgot
awful.
LL Cool J was in it, but I don't think he
Oh, yeah.
did die.
He did.
Treach
He
was
may
in
have
it
died
too.
first. Man,
Treach was in it. Treach.
Trek. Oh,
I would
Oh,
also
boy.
I'm gonna
say-
make sure. I'm
Hey,
gonna make sure that my son tonight goes trick or treat to all of the houses in our neighborhood.
It is a big night ahead on Halloween
my
night. So
God.
let's get it going here.
That's
First, let's
funny.
go ahead and recap what happened in Week 9. It was good news for Chris Sanders, who already led in the competition, and he went in to the Mid-American Conference.
Little action.
Some action.
I didn't
And
know I won.
See, stuff like that.
It
Cap.
doesn't count.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
he took
No,
Ball
if he
State.
didn't know, if he doesn't know he won, it doesn't
I
count.
know I.
He took the Cardinals of Ball State, a 13-point home dog against
Oh,
Northern
13.
Illinois. And it was a wild finish. Northern Illinois actually kicked a field goal to go up 1 with 15 seconds left in the game. 15. And Ball State still was able to get down the field in 2 plays and kick a 52-yard field goal to win it. So I'm sure Chris watched from beginning
Man.
to end, and he picks up 13 points.
Wow.
Chris, did you at least call your teammate and Ball State alum Blaine Bishop and thank him for the performance of his alma mater?
No, me and Derek did an event this weekend, which was awesome, and I was showing Derek the score, and Derek was like, "Man, what the heck?"
I was just like, you dastardly.
He's like, "You got to be kidding me!"
I
So that was all my excitement right there.
13 points for Chris. He gets to 38 on the season. A huge pickup.
Over. So on the towel rock.
The Duke is saying throw in the towel, Rock. You think it's
No.
over?
Hey, no,
Oh,
it's
it's
not
over.
over with yet. It's not
It's
over
over.
with
Let's
yet.
see. Let's see.
We
need
always
some
got
big
the
ones.
bowl
Nothing
season.
is over.
I didn't hear no bell.
Chase McCabe had the next pick. He went with Vanderbilt, a 19-point home dog against Texas. Vanderbilt looked like they were on a roll. They got the early turnover, cashed it in, up 7-0. But to Texas's credit, they came back and took what seemed to be full command of the game, up 21-7. But Vanderbilt battled, hung around, stayed close, cut it to 7 with about a minute left, could not get the onside kick. So they battled but fell. And, of course, Chase, as you know, in silly underdog picks, no points for a cover.
Yeah, well, you know. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell
Definitely
no.
not.
Germans?
No.
Forget it. He's on a roll.
Rolling.
Oh, man.
So Chase stays at 22.5. He will retain possession of second place. Adam Vingan went to the Meadowlands. He went with a traditional rivalry that goes back decades. The Navy midshipmen, undefeated, coming in with a huge opportunity. 12.5-point dogs against Notre Dame. Final score, Fighting Irish 51, Navy
Dang.
14. They
Wow.
just bumbled it all over the place. Adam, I felt bad for them because they would run 2 or 3 really good plays. And you're like, wow, Navy, they got that tricky offense. They're moving it. But they just gave the game away.
The ball didn't bounce our way.
There you go. Too many tricks, no treats.
Don't
The ball-
start that crap.
The ball
many
didn't
tricks,
bounce our
no
way.
treats.
They
There you
lost.
go.
They lost 5 of 7 fumbles. The ball did not bounce their way. It's the appropriate
Hey,
usage
Derek.
of that. The ball didn't bounce our way.
Oh, I feel bad for
Hey,
Navy.
Derek. Hey, Chris.
Yes.
You
Yes,
guys
sir.
played football. Did you know that the football isn't round? Did you guys know that?
No.
I
That
thought
can't
it
be
was
true.
round for a minute.
What? I know that.
It's more oblong, I believe.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, doesn't always bounce your way.
So
With
Adam,
the hint of
yeah.
roundness.
Adam has dropped to 1-8 on the season.
Wow.
That brings us to D Mace, who brought a heartfelt prediction. He went Michigan State, his alma mater, 5.5 points. The rivalry. You could see the green coming off of his clothing, his head. Like it was just a green fog started coming out. Like we're coming. Like I thought he was going to run through the fog. Spartan, 5.5-point dog at Michigan. He said, "We're going to the house. I won't call it the big house.
Because it's
Go
not.
green, go white." And Michigan State fell 24-17.
I hate Michigan. I hate because they always do these. They always do these little things after the game, like one of their players said. That's what it's just like annoying. They are the annoying person that you don't like to be around, but it's almost like you gotta. It's like get away from me. Like go. That's how Michigan. It's just go away. Y'all are just horrible. They're horrible. I mean, we lost. Yeah, I get it, but I just everything about that school just disgusts me. Everything. Everything about
Tell 'em
that
how you
school
feel,
just
D-Mace.
disgusts me. I mean, I'm not talking about the people, but I'm just talking about everything that school like. The classrooms, the turf, the stadium, the buildings, Ann Arbor. It just disgusts me.
The Wolverines pull it out. D-Mace and Adam, each at 1-8 with 13 and a half points, falling behind the pack. Chris now with 38 points in the
Wow.
lead. Chase in second with 22 and a half. And the people made a pick last week. LSU against Texas A&M. Obviously the Aggies, thanks to Marcel Reed, who once played for Coach Chris Sanders, who is on the staff over at Montgomery Bell Academy. A big, big week for Marcel coming off the bench to help the Aggies to another win. They are unbeaten in the SEC, delivering a tough loss for LSU. So the people are at 3-6 with 11 and a half points. And this week there is another opportunity to make the people's pick. If you want to be that person, just call us right now, 615-737-1025. If you win on behalf of the people, your underdog wins outright, you will win a prize.
And that prize is a pair of tickets to see Daryl Hall at the Ryman Auditorium on Tuesday, November 19th.
There's always a pause after Daryl Hall.
Make your dreams come true.
Yeah. Like to see Daryl Hall, and
Darryl
you expect to hear and you don't
hear-
because
no,
there's
just
stuff
Daryl
going
Hall.
on there. But okay,
Daryl
Hall.
Daryl Hall.
Hall's good.
At
I'll
the
see
Ryman,
Daryl Hall.
Tuesday, November 19th. If you represent the people and make a correct selection.
So call right now if you want the reins to make that call. All right, let's go to week 10. Leading it off will be the suit, Chase McCabe.
Behold the king of kings. On your knees, dog.
All right. I'm torn between two games, and they are both in the Southeastern Conference. But I think I have decided, last week I went with the Commodores, and they came very, very close. Coach Lee, I'm doing it again. Give me Vanderbilt. On the road at Auburn.
Vanderbilt is a 7-point dog on the road at Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium on the Plains. Very interesting. And we were talking about this yesterday. Diego Pavia has 2 wins over Hugh Freeze when he was quarterbacking New Mexico State. Last year, famously, they went down and destroyed Auburn, won surprisingly easily. And that was a game that Clark Lee circled and said, what's going on over at New Mexico State? I need to check this out. And, of course, we know what happened there. He brought a lot of the staff, including – and then took Pavia as well. But Pavia also had a win over Liberty when Hugh Freeze was the coach at Liberty. So looking for a third, Vanderbilt on the road, a 7-point dog against Auburn. A win would make Vanderbilt bowl eligible officially. So Chase is feeling it. That brings us to Adam Vingan with the second pick.
I too thought about taking Vanderbilt this weekend, but I came prepared with a backup selection. It's been a minute since I've looked to my beloved Atlantic Coast Conference. So I'm going to go down to the well-known Atlantic Coast stronghold of Dallas, Texas, Gerald J. Ford Stadium, where I'm going to take number 18 ranked Pittsburgh to defeat number 20 SMU this weekend. Pitt over SMU, proud members of the Atlantic Coast Conference, one school located in western Pennsylvania, the other in Dallas, Texas. I will take Pittsburgh over SMU. I have it as SMU minus 7.5.
That is correct. SMU, number 20.
Pitt's a dog?
Pittsburgh is a 7-0 dog. And this game has playoff implications just because of the way the ACC is shaping up here. These two teams have a chance for an automatic bid. If they can get into the championship game and win it, they would be in. So this is a critical game for the playoff chase here in the ACC. And, of course, I'm sure everybody in Pittsburgh and SMU will celebrate at the beach.
Yes.
Because they're in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Very
even
close
though-
to the beach.
Yeah, very close to the beach. Just slide on over. The Mustangs are 7.5-point favorites playing at home at Gerald Ford Stadium down in Dallas. That is Saturday night at 7. So big game. Adam has the Panthers. All right, let's move on to Derek Mason with the third pick. He needs a win. He needs a win. The Summer 11 has not equated to a lot of wins.
He's not having a blast.
Oh, I'm still having a blast. Still having a blast. Listen, I'm going to the well once again. I have to. Because if I'm going to
It
get
better
some
happen
points,
fast.
If I'm going to get some points,
Don't
I gotta
do it.
go,
Don't
gotta
do
go
it.
to my
Don't do
bread
it.
and butter. I'm going once again with my Michigan State Spartans.
Can he
to
get bailed
beat
out?
Indiana in East Lansing. We're going to redeem ourselves from last week's heart-wrenching loss. We're coming back, and we are going to spoil Indiana's bid to have an undefeated season. They may still get to the Big Ten championship game, but it won't be through Spartan Stadium, I tell you that. East Lansing, Michigan State, we doing it, man.
I feel like you can't quite get as fired up because they're not playing Michigan.
Yeah, George Perlis, the spirit of George Perlis will be over. Over that stadium.
What about the get back coach?
D'Antonio will be over that stadium.
What about the get back coach? Coach Biggums.
Yeah, Coach Biggums. He will be, his spirit will be on that stadium. Okay, Spartans, we're doing it this week. The Hoosiers will walk in there and walk out Hoosier-less. All right, Saturday. I'm picking my Spartans. Let's
Oh my God.
Michigan State.
Let's go, Spartans.
Is an 8-point home dog
Let's
against
go.
undefeated and 13th ranked Indiana.
Google me. That's what their coach said. Google me.
All right, let's get to the last pick. Chris Sanders looking for another title after a dreadful season last year, trying to bounce back.
Yes, sir.
With 38 points, trying to add to it.
What is this?
What is this?
Right.
A guiding light or something?
Hold on. Here you go.
I did my best, but I guess my best wasn't good enough. 'Cause here we are, back where we
Oh,
were.
my goodness.
Is this for Derek?
I guess this is for everybody's.
I guess for me too. I'm also bad.
Who cares?
Back to be
I want to be a stranger to you. I don't want to know you.
if we ought to stay or head on out the door.
Just one.
Just once. Can we figure out what we keep doing wrong?
Man, I love this song. I hate you, Chris. This is a song I like.
All right.
What are we doing wrong?
All right, here's my pick. This is going to break the back of just the whole competition. I don't even want to say this name. I can't believe it's even coming out of my mouth. I'm going with Michigan over Oregon. 15.
You are just.
Oh.
You're not. You know what? You didn't even go to Ohio State. You didn't go
I
to
know,
Ohio
but
State.
I say
They're gonna
Michigan. I
revoke
didn't
your
say
diploma.
Michigan.
They are coming to
said
take their
Michigan.
diploma back. Coming to take their diploma back. You do not deserve it, okay, Chris? No.
I can't
So
believe I got it.
to be clear, at so far during this competition, Chris has picked against Ohio State.
Exactly.
And now he's picking Michigan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
your
no,
diploma,
Michigan. I can't
might
say
as well
him.
burn that diploma, my friend.
I do feel like there are Buckeyes listening out there. They could pass the word along here and make you persona non grata up there in a pretty big hurry.
I imagine some Chris Sanders jerseys with some tire treads all over them right about now.
The Buckeyes have a big one this weekend, too. That
They
is
do.
a big one at
It
Penn
sure
State.
is.
So Chris
Yeah.
Sanders takes the Wolverines, 14.5-point home dog, as they host Big Ten rival and number one, Oregon, who comes
Proud
in
member of
at
the Big Ten.
8-0.
Proud member.
Don't even sound right.
Actually, I'm tripping. He actually picked Michigan.
He did.
He did.
That is like, you never do that.
What's more egregious, Derek? Him picking Michigan or that game he picked against Ohio State?
Him picking Michigan.
Okay.
That is just like, I don't care if Michigan was playing for the national championship. I'm still not picking them to win.
I said Michigan, not Michigan.
I
I didn't say the whole name. I didn't say the whole name.
Chris. Oh man, I don't believe
Hey.
you, brother.
All right, let's recap the picks for Week 10. Chase McCabe needing points, falling behind a little further because Chris has put some distance between himself and the pack. Chase takes for a second straight week Vanderbilt as a 7-point road dog at Auburn. A win would put Clark Lee's club in bowl eligibility. Let's see if they can pull it off. But they are a dog, and Chase needs points. Remember, the underdog must win outright here in our silly underdog competition presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Adam Vingan, 1-8 on the year. Needing wins, he will go to a traditional ACC rivalry game.
Yes.
Pittsburgh at SMU. Pittsburgh is a 7.5-point dog against the Mustangs down in Dallas. And these two teams each have the winner of this game is going to have an inside track to the ACC championship game. So this is a big one. Pitt is undefeated, if you haven't noticed. D-Mace selects for a second straight week his alma mater, the Michigan State Spartans. An 8-point home dog as they host another undefeated team, the Indiana Hoosiers, who continue to impress. Will the Spartans take them down?
Absolutely.
And then the most shocking pick, the most shocking pick of the week, Chris Sanders, the beloved Buckeye.
Is it really shocking
Two-sport
anymore?
star. He selects the hated Michigan Wolverines, a 14.5-point home dog against number 1, the Oregon Ducks.
I hope they get
Much
beat
to
by
the
100.
dismay of Derek Mason. He just cannot believe that you would pick.
Michigan,
I hope
15 points.
I hope they beat Michigan the way the Lions beat up the Titans.
Oh,
I hope it's like
wow.
50-something to 8.
I bet Chris Sanders has Michigan Zubaz pants.
He probably does. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is a mystery we'll have to solve at another time.
Chris Sanders definitely wore Zubaz pants, didn't you, Chris?
They're called what?
Zubaz pants.
What?
Remember those from the 90s?
I remember. I like parachute pants.
Yeah, they were kind of sort of like
Kinda.
They had the tiger stripes on them.
Is it the ones you had on the other day, mate?
No.
All right. Well, those are the picks for Week 10. So, gentlemen, good luck. And to the people, when we come out on the other side, we need a representative to make the pick for
We
the
do
people.
have a representative.
Oh, very nice.
And we will get that representative's pick coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063, the game.
All right, let's tell you about Lee Company. We're here at Bridgestone Arena. The Predators are in action tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. So when you come down here and be a part of it on this Halloween night, it's going to be a lot of fun. You will see the Lee Company display all over the place. And if you're out and about and the trick-or-treaters are coming by to your house, just remember your house is so important to you as a homeowner, and you need to take care of it. That's why Lee Company has been servicing your air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and electric needs since 1944. 80 years of service. That's outstanding stuff. Build a relationship with Lee Company. We do at our house in the Donick residence. We have for a long time now, several years, and we are really happy with what they've done to keep our house running smoothly. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. That's 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. Lee Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators.
D Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063, the games we have made our silly underdog picks for the week. Mike from Gallatin, we will get to him in just a second. Mike from Gallatin will represent the people this week. And if Mike is correct, he will receive a pair of tickets to see Daryl Hall at the Ryman Auditorium on Tuesday, November 19th. We now go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome Mike from Gallatin. Mike, welcome to the competition. Which team are you selecting this week?
Hey, guys. So there was a few SEC games that I was considering, but I've had a lot of opportunities to watch Arkansas play. And I think that they will put up a really good fight at home against Ole Miss. I think if it was at Ole Miss, I would not go that direction, but I think the home crowd will provide a little bit of trouble for Ole Miss.
Mike is correct. Arkansas has been a popular selection throughout this competition this year. So, Mike, good luck, and we'll see if you win those tickets to see Daryl Hall next month.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Okay, so the people have spoken. Mike has taken Arkansas. The Razorbacks a 7-point home dog against 19th ranked Ole Miss, who has to win out to have any shot, I think, of getting to the playoffs. So they have the pressure on, and Arkansas is improving team. There's no question about it.
Petrino has that offense going. They just they're a good team, and actually they should be better than what their record indicates. I've watched this team several times, and this is a good football team, but they always manage to do something throughout the course of the game that just changes the tie and not in their favor. No pun intended, Alabama fans. But this is a good team. And I think they got a hell of an offense. The defense, they need to pick up their end of the bargain. But, yeah, that's a good pick. I thought about that pick, but I had to go with my Spartans again.
I would have to go back and listen. But I would venture to guess Arkansas may be the most popular selection this season. Vanderbilt
I picked them once or twice.
You did pick them a couple of times. Vanderbilt has been a popular selection as well. But I imagine
Michigan State has been picked 3 times.
Okay,
now.
Willie's got it.
I picked them twice. You picked them once.
Arkansas has been picked 3 times.
Okay. Vanderbilt's been picked.
I'm sorry. Arkansas has been picked 4 times.
Okay.
So you're right. Arkansas might have the edge here. No, let me correct this. Michigan State has now been picked 5 times.
Have they been picked 5 times?
Yes.
I took them once. I took them against Boston
twice.
College, I think.
I took them twice.
Yep. Chase took Michigan State. Chris Sanders took Michigan State against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Remember, he picked him
Yes,
against Ohio State,
exactly.
the infamous I'm trying to play mind games with D Mace pick. But yeah, that Arkansas has been picked against Tennessee, a win for D Mace. Arkansas was picked by D Mace against Oklahoma State, a bitter double overtime loss. That was a crazy game at Oklahoma State. And now here they are against Ole Miss. So, yeah, this has been a fun year of college football. I feel like the underdog picks, especially, you feel like an underdog's got a chance these days. Like there's a wild card factor with all the NIL and the transfers that are going on.
Absolutely. So, Mike, good luck. He takes the Razorbacks this week against Ole Miss. So, this morning, as I was preparing for the show, I came across a headline in the Tennessean from Nick Suss, ranking the most miserable Tennessee Titans games ever, where Sunday's battle versus Patriots fit. So we've got the 1-6 Titans against the 2-6 Patriots. According to Nick Suss of the Tennessean, by combined winning percentage, this game ranks among the lowest stakes games in Titans history. Since moving to Tennessee in 1997, this will be just the 5th game the Titans have played on November 1st or later, where the 2 teams involved have a cumulative winning percentage of 200 or below. So, by the way, Titans were favored last I checked by 3.5. So perhaps the only time left this season where the Titans will be favored in a game.
You may be right.
But we got a text yesterday that stuck with me. We have numerous Wes's who text the show. I can't remember which Wes it was, so I apologize to whichever Wes texted this in, but said that of all the games the Titans can't win this season, that's remaining in this, what's left of this season, it can't be the game against the Patriots, because that's a team you have to lose to, because the Patriots are in contention with the Titans at the top of the draft order. Jared has said that as a proud Titans fan, he wants the Titans to lose every game for the rest of the season because he wants to improve their draft stock. He also wants there to be no doubt that the conglomeration of Chad Brinker and Rand Carthon, he wants them to be shown the door. We all know that. That's not the point. But it got me thinking about what Titans fans are feeling about the rest of this season. Because there may be some of you who, like Wes, like Jared, want the Titans to lose out. To get the best possible draft selection, for the front office to be cleaned out, whatever your reasons are. So I am not going to disparage a Titans fan if they feel like they are going to root for their team to lose. Now, Willie may remember this. Back in, speaking of the Oilers who are here tonight, was it 2015 that Connor McDavid was drafted? I believe it was the 2015 draft. That was the Connor McDavid, right? Jack Eichel draft. And yes. and that point in the preceding season, the 2014-2015 season, the Oilers and the Buffalo Sabres were actively tanking for a chance to draft Connor McDavid.
2015, you're right.
Number one. And I can't remember if it was this season or maybe it was another season with the Sabres specifically because they've been in that area for a long time. It actually may have involved Ryan O'Reilly. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But they were, I think the Sabres were playing a home game.
Yes.
And the other team scored and the Sabres fans were cheering.
Right.
Because the other team scored. Because by the Sabres losing, it would improve their draft position.
Right. They're ping pong balls,
yes,
basically, because it's a lottery, which they lost. But back then, I think they were hoping for the best odds to get the top pick, even though they pretty much knew it was going to be one or two. But they wanted Connor McDavid, rightfully so. And so they wanted their team to lose, and it showed.
So I would love to hear from Titans fans about what they're hoping for the rest of the season. Are you cheering for the Titans to lose as many games as possible? Are you still hoping that they win some games along the way? Are there things beyond wins and losses that you are keeping track of over the course of the rest of the season? And yesterday, Jeffrey Simmons was asked about this. Now, you're going to hear Jeffrey Simmons' response, and none of us are going to be surprised by what he said. But this is what Jeffrey Simmons said about the Titans and tanking the rest of the way. Here's what Jeffrey Simmons said.
Not that I don't care, I mean, guys in the draft help us, but I'm not thinking about it. I'm thinking about getting a win. That stuff right there don't matter. That's outside noise for us, I would say. I mean, our focus should be on the New England Patriots because that's the next team on our schedule, and you got to figure out how to beat New England Patriots, not try to see who's going to draft in the upcoming draft.
So that was Jeffrey Simmons yesterday.
Okay, so let me be the first to attack this in the media relations form. To me, you never ask a player that question. That is the dumbest question you could possibly ask a player. I commend Jeffrey Simmons from a media relations standpoint of answering professionally when he could have, had a reaction that would get a viral reaction, etc. Because Paul Karski, I think, asked the question, he knows full well that a player can never say, yeah, we want to lose so we can get the high pick. No player in his right mind would ever say that. And Paul knows that. But what's Paul trying to do? He's trying to get a reaction from Jeffrey Simmons, try to poke and prod and say, let me see if I can get him to say something controversial here. And that's I'm not even going to say it. I just think it's a total waste of time to do that. I feel bad that Jeffrey Simmons had to answer a question like that because that is not right.
I do want to confirm it was a Sabres game against the Arizona Coyotes in March of 2015 when the Coyotes scored the overtime winner in Buffalo. Sabres fans cheered because it improved their draft position. They ultimately, by the way, did not get the number 1 pick,
Mhm.
which was Connor
Right.
McDavid.
So-
They got number 2, Jack Eichel, who is still a great player.
Exactly.
A
But
hell of a player. And
yes.
did they win anything with Jack Eichel?
No.
No.
But then
So-
Jack Eichel went to Vegas and won the
Right.
Stanley
So
Cup.
so I guess where I'm going with that is karma has a way of working,
Uh-huh.
right? So if you do stuff like that and that's what you root for, you get what you deserve. I think that I believe that in sports, right? So I will never I will never say that it's the right thing to do to tank, right? That is not right. Now, do you try to grab assets? Do you rebuild? Yes. But the team on the field continues to fight. If they go out and play a really good game against the New England Patriots, good. If they happen to lose, all right. But the most important thing is you continue to fight. You build a winning culture. You're trying desperately to build a foundation. And if you win, there's nothing wrong with that. You will get rewarded for that, even though your draft position will not reflect that. If you lose and you get a better pick, okay, that's okay too. But the bottom line is you can never, ever even hint that in the locker room, you are not trying 100% to win every game.
So go ahead, Derek.
No, this is, I mean, there's not much I can say. I think Willie said it all in a sense. I'm not sure. And Paul's great at his job, so it's not like I'm sitting here and it's not a criticizing session. I mean, what was Paul looking to get out of the question? That's what I want to know, because he had to have known going into the question, Jeffrey ain't going to give you nothing. When you ask a player about a draft, players are not going to give you anything. They're going to tell you exactly what Jeffrey told you. Hey, listen, we are worried about the task at hand, and that's the next game. I can't worry about, tanking. Players are not going to tank. That's not what players do. So asking a player that question, I'm not sure what you get out of it. And that would be my question. Like, what answer did you think you were going to get from Jeffrey Simmons outside of what he said? Did you think Jeffrey Simmons was going to say, yeah, we're tanking. Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, it's cool. No, players are not like that. The coach didn't say it. He's not going to say it. The GM didn't say it. He's not going to say it. The owner didn't say it. She's not going to say it. So what makes you think the players are going to say it?
It's a tough spot for a player to be in.
It's not
because,
even. No, it's not even. Really, it's not even a tough spot.
No.
It's just like, no, that's not what we do.
Well, I guess from this is where I'm going with this. I think the players are not dumb, right? They know when their team is making moves for the future. More so than for the game on Sunday. They see when a team is trading veterans for draft picks, future assets, all of that stuff. But that doesn't change for a second the heart of a competitor. The competitor is still going to say, we're going to find a way to make it work. We're going to play hard. We're going to try to win. There's nothing wrong with a team from the top saying, we got to rebuild. We got to get new assets. We got to play down the road because we don't feel like we can win right now. But that's the line that you're walking. But the players always have to stand pat and say, we are going to try to win and play our best football on Sunday.
Well, Arden Key said it best. You are auditioning for 30-some other teams. That's what you're doing. So whether you are having a great season or a bad season like the Titans have had, it doesn't change the fact from a player standpoint. I am auditioning to make it this team next year, because this team is so bad, they're going to be looking to make changes. And if I don't show them I can still play, they're going to get rid of me. And then I am auditioning for the other teams out there. So again, when you ask a player like that, what are you trying to get? That's all I'm saying. Like, what answer are you trying to get from outside of what Jeffrey already said? And Arden Key said 3 or 4 days ago.
615-737-1025. This is my question for all of you Titans fans out there. What are you cheering for the rest of the season? Are you cheering against the Titans? Do you want them to lose out and have the best possible chance of the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? Are you cheering for or against certain players? I would just love to know the mindset of Titans fans right now. 615-737-1025. We'll take your calls and texts next. Willie Dunnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Okay, let's talk Loan Pronto, everybody. And here is the question that Loan Pronto puts out to you. Are you like a lot of our peers out there struggling with some credit card debt? Maybe you've got a car loan out there, a personal loan that is eating you up with the interest you're paying on it each month. Loan Pronto wants to consolidate that debt at a significantly lower rate using the equity in your home. So if you're a homeowner, listen up. Their Express Equity Line of Credit program at Loan Pronto can get you thousands of dollars so you can take that and attack the credit card bill, pay off the car, and they will consolidate that debt in as fast as 5 days. Their average client saves over $1,000 every month. So if you like how that sounds for the new year in 2025, call Loan Pronto and see what you can save. It's a free quote, and there's no credit pull. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. My question to Titans fans, what are you cheering for the rest of the season? Are you cheering for the Titans? Are you cheering against the Titans? We've got some calls and text. This is from Roy from Clarksville on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. He says he's cheering for Will Levis to pull a Jordan Love second half of the season. And if the team wins or loses, so be it. But do something to show that he still has the chance to be the guy.
Hey, I'm with him. I wouldn't, I would be all for that too. Because right now he doesn't look like the quarterback. And if he can come back off his injury and sort of, change the fortunes, really for himself in regards to how people view him, then I think that's a plus all the way around.
Cam is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. He wants to weigh in on this. Cam, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
What's going on, fellas?
How are you?
So, I'm a single dad, and, these games are not cheap to go to. Unless the beer vendors and the hot dog vendors are going to start tanking too. I'm not willing, and I'm telling you, man, like that D-Hop situation, because even the announcers were like, well, he's got his helmet on and he's standing behind the coach, and that was strike 1 and 2 for me. If they show any more signs of just utterly just we're giving up, I will never spend another dime in Nissan Stadium. Thanks.
Thanks, Cam. He's referring to, that was the Buffalo game, correct? Near the end where DeAndre Hopkins was standing right behind Brian Callahan, and they said it was some sort of soreness, and then of course he gets traded a couple of days later. But that was Cam's opinion on it. Randy on our text line says, my hopes are the Titans come back and end up winning a total of 6 or 7 games, just enough to show hope and to justify Rand, Chad, and Callahan, and that they give Amy no reason to fire them in order to make Jarrett suffer for another year. Hey, look, if you're rooting for the Titans to win, to stick it to Jarrett, I mean, I'm a petty sports fan. If that's what you want to do, that's fine with me.
I mean, listen, and this is where sort of as someone that has been in those rooms compared to possibly someone that hasn't, anytime you can win is a good thing. You look at certain ball clubs where, the next following year they start to do good. Well, teams typically, when that happens, they typically go on a run the latter part of the season, and they may win 3 or 4 in a row, and everybody's feeling good. And then they go into that off season with a different perspective on their team. And then everyone's energized coming into the next following season, and things tend to turn around. I'm not saying they're going to go, from being at the bottom of the barrel like Houston was to winning the division. No, but you see the progression, or you see the progress that our teams are making. So, I think for the sake of the fan base, and I know there are a handful of them that say, lose every game and whatnot, but losing every game doesn't automatically mean you are going to, 1, get an impact player, or 2, your fortunes are going to be any different the next following season. What you do as an athlete, as an organization, you go out there and you purposely try to win every game. And if you don't, then you see where pieces you need to have on your team, guys you need to bring in, or where you need to upgrade. When you go out there and purposely tank, you don't know, you truly don't know where you got to upgrade, because you purposely went out there and didn't try. So we don't know if you are, good at a certain position or not, because frankly, you convinced everybody to go out there and don't play their best. So go out there. That's why I said with Will Levis, I came to the realization, put Will Levis in a game. Let him finish the season out, because I don't want to get fooled like I got fooled last year with Will Levis. Let him play it out. And if he shows that he's a quarterback worthy of being your starter next year, then okay. But if he shows you the same thing, now you go into the offseason as fans, as an organization, knowing he's not the guy.
The pressure, in theory, is a little lower now. The pressure is off. So maybe he can relax a little bit more. Maybe he'll cut down on some of the egregious mistakes that have gotten him in the hole. But I think that is the number one thing. if you're winning a few games, hopefully that means Skoronski's getting a little better.
Mhm.
Latham's getting a little better. That's the essential thing, is that the young players that they desperately need to build around are progressing. You don't want to have to fill 50 holes. You're trying to eliminate some holes that you have to fill. Last offseason, an example, they spent all that money, but it was because they had so many holes that they had to plug, and they couldn't plug them all.
JD on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, "I'm cheering for Derrick Henry. I'll check in on the Titans, but for the most part, I'm checked out. The incompetence and poor decisions are just too much, fellas." That was JD on our text line.
I mean, listen, if that's the way JD thinks, then he has every right. He's a Titan fan, or hopefully he's still a Titan fan. And if he thinks the team has been incompetent or whatnot, then hey, that's what he thinks. But then there are a lot of people on the other side of the ledger that believes that, hey, listen, the whole regime, not just him, the whole regime, from the coach to the GM to the president to the quarterback, they need extra time. So, whether it's JD or DJ on the other side, everybody's going to have their opinion.
Well, we graded basically every player on the roster earlier this week, and we stirred up a hornet's nest because I was defining what is on Ran Carthon in this regime and what did they inherit. But the bottom line is Ran Carthon needs some hits. He needs
he does.
He needs some base hits, and he doesn't need just all singles. I mean, we can point to some singles, but he's got a lot of outs that don't look good. But they're only a third of the way through the season or so, right? Or getting close to the halfway point. He needs some hits between now and the end of the season, and that could happen. He's got to hope that some of these guys come around, because right now they are woefully low in young talent that are pieces that are building blocks to a good football team. They got a long mountain, or a big mountain to climb.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on this in the final hour. But before we do, Elliot Freeman, Sportsnet NHL insider, co-host of the 32 Thoughts podcast, will join us for his weekly conversation. We'll talk Predators. We'll talk Connor McDavid. We'll talk the NHL. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. D. Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan live from Bridgestone Arena, where the Nashville Predators will host the Edmonton Oilers tonight. And joining us on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Elliot Freeman, Sportsnet NHL insider and co-host of the 32 Thoughts podcast. And Elliot, as fate would have it, the Oilers are here for their first game without Connor McDavid. I know that the diagnosis of the ankle injury, 2 to 3 weeks, I'm sure, I know that the Oilers breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the Oilers are going to have to figure things out without their captain for the next couple of weeks. This is a team that has struggled to score. They've had their opportunities, but they haven't been able to cash in. So what are we going to learn about these Oilers over the next 2 to 3 weeks, starting tonight without Connor McDavid in Nashville?
Well, don't forget this happened to them last year too, Adam.
It did, yes.
They were missing him for a chunk. That was a problem that they had to deal with. I think that the one thing that I think they have to sort out is they're just not fast right now. And this is a fast league. And fast is not only how you skate, but it's also how quickly you move the puck. Like McDavid obviously is one of the fastest skaters in the league. If you go through the NHL Edge stats, he's in the 92nd percentile, which actually seems low for him. But the rest of the team as a whole is below the 50% mark. So they're just not moving quickly, and they're not moving the puck quickly. So I think that starting tonight, what I'm very curious to see from them is, in a league where pace is so important, Adam, how quickly can you get yourself to move without your fastest player?
And I spoke to Chris Knobloch after the morning skate and brought up that note that you had in your 32 Thoughts. And he said exactly what you just said, that it's not just about skating speed. It's about moving the puck, as you said. And he agreed that he feels like the team has not done as well in that regard in terms of moving the puck as a team. In Toronto yesterday, we saw a trade. Timothy Liljegren traded to the Sharks for Matt Benning, a former member of the Nashville Predators, and 2 draft picks. And Elliot, I'll be honest, when I saw the alert, I was a bit surprised by the return. I know that Timothy Liljegren has a first-round pedigree, but he has not been in the Maple Leafs plans this season. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's appeared in one game, or he did appear in one game for the Leafs this season under Craig Berube. We also saw Olli Mata traded from Detroit to Utah for a 3rd-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. Has the market now been set for depth, maybe 3rd pair, possibly 2nd pair defensemen with these 2 trades?
Yeah, probably. I think that now everybody will take a look at that as a target, Adam. But, one of the real challenges here is there just wasn't a lot of available. Like, Utah was in a desperate mode because they lost 2D. But there weren't a lot of teams. And also the other thing, too, Adam, with this whole Liljegren thing, and Benning was affected, too, is that nobody wanted anyone with term.
Mm-hmm.
Like the true stud defensemen, they almost never become available, right? So you're sitting there and you're like, okay, we can't get a difference maker. A lot of other teams don't want to make trades at this time of the year. They're still trying to figure out what they've got. A lot of teams look at it like injuries happen. We have to make sure we have enough depth for when that occurs. I just don't think there was a lot available. I actually think Detroit did a good job to get a 3rd-rounder for Mata. And, the thing with Benning and Liljegren, I don't think there was much of a market for either guy simply because they both have term. And I don't think a lot of teams wanted to add a defenseman who was under contract after this year, as both of those guys were. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Benning if he stays here or they try to flip him. That one could go either way. But I think that Utah was desperate for a D, And Toronto, Liljegren had basically become, as you said, the 9th defenseman. And they also had a cap issue because they have an injured defenseman, Hakanpää, who's coming back. They had to fit him in. So I think it just got to a point where they had to make the trade.
We talk with Elliot Friedman, 32 Thought Podcast. Now, Elliot, the Predators, obviously, they started off not too good, but then was able to pick up some wins. But one thing had changed with this team. They've gotten off on very slow starts, but they've managed to come back in some games and take a game into overtime and then ultimately get some points. Is that a situation that they can continue and expect to have the season that they want to have? And how are things like that correctable? Getting down early and have to fighting your way back to ultimately try to win a game or send a game into overtime.
Well, I think the one thing, Derek, is they have to start banking points. Like, if they were in a terrible division, it would be easier, but they're in a really good division. Like, all you got to do is look at the 3 teams at the top, and granted it's early, but they've all got a 75% points percentage. Like, you know, one of the good lines I really feel about hockey, Derek, is that you can't win the Stanley Cup in October, but you can lose it. And there is a stat I keep, and, you know, tomorrow's November 1st. In this league, because of the loser point, the one you get for losing in overtime in a shootout, if you fall behind in the NHL, it is statistically very difficult to catch up. Like, I keep a stat, I don't have it in front of me, I'll check it after the games tomorrow. But if you're 4 points out on November 1st, I think you make the playoffs less than 20% of the time. And so the bigger challenge now for teams like the Predators is that the Jets have banked points. The Stars are banking points. Even the Wild are banking points. Like, those 2 teams have 4 losses in regulation in 28 games. What they've done is they've set a fast pace atop the Central Division. And so now if you're Nashville and you're chasing with the likes of Utah and St. Louis and Colorado, you know that you're really going to be battling. You're really going to be battling now because of the pace that have been set up. So that's the one thing that's happened in front of you that you have to deal with. As for the start of games, sometimes it's just details. You got to start better. You got to start on time. Sometimes it's, you know, you break down and you get that save early. You get that save early. I mean, whether it's details and getting a break or getting a big save, you can't be chasing the game all the time. If you're chasing the game and you're chasing the season, that's a big problem.
We're talking to Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts. Elliot, with the baseball season wrapping up last night, I'll make a baseball reference. We know in baseball now the big talk is the days of the 300 hitter are all but gone. It's harder to hit 300. There's less of them, the styles and everything. The save percentage of the goalie, you have a note in your 32 Thoughts, 897 is the league average. I don't think I ever would have thought that, especially with the Predators coming into the league in 1998, you know, when it was a relatively lower scoring phase. I mean, the standard was, you know, 915, 920, that kind of thing. But 897, boy, I didn't think I would see this.
No, it's wild. It's really crazy to me. And I think the biggest thing is that I think for a long time, Willie, the goalies were ahead of the shooters. You know, the goalies used to be normal sized humans. Now they're like they're monsters. Like, if you're like 6'1", they almost won't even look at you. Like, your guy Saros is the exception to the rule in the NHL. So that's one thing that's happened, is that the goalies got bigger. For a while, the equipment got bigger and they reined it in. That was a big change. They really went hard at equipment, and I thought that was very important. And the other thing was, I think that more and more kids now, they hire skills coaches at a younger age. And what that's done is every kid can shoot now. Like I was sitting with Peter Mrazek in Czech Republic this year, and I asked him about Connor Bedard's shot. They both play in Chicago. And he says, man, it's the NHL. Everybody can shoot it. And I think that's true. I think kids now, with all the skilled coaching they've done, like goalies used to play the percentages. They'd say, I'll give you this shot because nobody can make it. And it was true. Like they would give you the tiniest corner of the net because they had to give up something, and nobody can put it there. Now, everybody can put it there. Everybody can shoot. Like all these places that you're not supposed to be scoring, they can all score to there. And I think between the equipment getting slimmer and the shooters getting better, I think the shooters have caught up and passed the goalies for the first time in a long time. I think it's good for the game. Fans want goals. Let's see goals.
Well, we'll see how that looks against a couple teams that can really score them, with Edmonton coming here tonight. And they have two matchups. The Predators do with Edmonton in the next couple of weeks. They go out for the long road trip out to Western Canada here soon. They also, during that stretch, play Colorado twice. I know you have a note about their situation. So give me the thought on the Avs. They've done well to sort of dig out of an early hole, kind of like the Predators are trying to do now, but they lost another forward. I remember over the summer, Elliot, you were telling us about Ross Colton, who was playing well before he just got hurt. Depth is an issue for the Avalanche. So tell me the state of their affairs.
Well, they had 5 of their top 9 forwards are injured. One of them looks like he's coming back next week, Lehkonen, who scored the goal when they won the Stanley Cup a few years ago. They've really been beaten up. And like every day, like you hear another announcement of a guy getting hurt. And last night, a defenseman, Oliver Shillington, had to play forward because they were just short. So they're looking for a forward right now. They basically, I think, the way they look at it is this is not going to continue. Eventually, our guys are going to get back healthy. They do have one player, Valerie Nichushkin, who is in the NHL substance abuse mental health program, and he is eligible to be activated on November the 13th, although it might be a little later than that. He is eligible to be activated. And he's a big, important player for them. So we'll see. But I just think they're just trying to keep their heads above water. They lost last night to Tampa. They fell behind early, and they gave it a run, but they just fell. Tampa pulled away at the end. They're just shorthanded right now. They're going through an epic run of injuries. And eventually they will sort it out. They've got great elite talent, but they've got to get healthy. They're the most decimated team in the league right now.
What were your thoughts on how Tampa put on the show for Stamkos? It was a really good game, went right down to the wire. The only thing that didn't follow the script is everybody wanted it here. They wanted to see Stamkos in that overtime find a way to get it in there. He had the one good look there before Tampa Bay spoiled it, but a very good game. And I'm curious where Stamkos goes from here, because Adam and I have been doing a lot of numbers on Stamkos. I think he's on the verge of a breakout. If you take a look at the shots he's getting, the number of shots, the looks, it seems like it's just a matter of time, even though there has been an adjustment here.
Yeah, I think that, sometimes that game can really help you. You kind of say, okay, I finally had the first game. It's time to move on. I remember Vince Carter talking about that once, that he, from when he got traded from the Raptors to the Nets, just coming back, the first game back, he was so nervous. And the first shot he threw up was like a total brick. Like it was just an awful shot. And the crowd laughed and booed at him. And he said later that I think it was Jason Kidd who walked over to him and said, "Congratulations, you got your horrible shot out of the way. Now you can play." And he actually played, I think, really well, and they won. So I think you hope that this helps Stamkos get some bit of closure and move on. There were a couple. First of all, I thought that it was really well done. I think that I wondered if Stamkos was going to lose it there for a second. His eyes kind of watered a couple of times, but he held it pretty well. I thought the most interesting thing was the reaction of some of the Tampa players. Like, you could see, like, Kucherov I thought Kucherov has this reputation as being this dour, humorless guy, and the way he reacted really stuck with me. Like, the ovation he gave, because he doesn't show that side of himself a lot. Cooper was interesting because Cooper and Stamkos really battled. They really battled sometimes. Like, he was the captain, but, Cooper pushed him, and you could see even Cooper, like, it was an emotional moment for him too. I thought it was a really well done night. I thought it was a great night.
Elliot, last one for you. The most fascinating team in the NHL to me right now, and it's for all the wrong reasons, is the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
They're off to a terrible start. Their number one goalie, Tristan Jarry, has been sent to the American League for conditioning, but he's had a rough start to his season. They're an old team. They're locked into Sidney Crosby and Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang, and I know that Geno Malkin has a couple of years left, but it really seems from afar that there is no easy out for the Pittsburgh Penguins to figure this out. What is going on in Pittsburgh, and how can they possibly dig themselves out of this?
I think if you really want to dig yourself out of it, you probably have to make some really painful decisions. I think the thing about that game against Minnesota too was it's a huge game for Fleury, and they get off to a great start, and they can't hold the momentum. They can't do anything to stop it. Minnesota comes charging back and they win the game. Like, you think if you're up 2-0 at home, you're in a really good spot, and they just weren't. Their D-zone coverage has been really weak at them. I'm astonished at some of the breakdowns. And, the one thing I watched, the end of the game was really incredible, was Fleury getting the big ovation from the Pittsburgh fans and the Minnesota players staying out and Crosby and Letang staying out. It was almost like saying goodbye, like the start of saying goodbye to the dynasty. Like, does that make any sense to you? It was almost like I was looking at it and I was like, is this the beginning of the end? Like, like the core members, you forget that the last 2 years, Matt Murray was the starter, but Fleury was around, obviously. But like the biggest personalities from that team were Letang, Crosby, Malkin, and Fleury. And to me, it was almost like, okay, now we're saying goodbye to the first one of them. And I just wonder if it's sort of like the beginning of the goodbyes to this Penguins group. And, Crosby obviously just re-signed, but I think the one thing is that the way they're playing, they're going to force a situation where the GM is going to have no choice but to say, guys, like, we got to do something new here.
Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet NHL insider, co-host of the 32 podcast, joining us here as he does every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Elliot, thanks for chatting. We'll talk next week.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
You as well. Elliot Friedman joining us here on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. We'll react to that and preview the Predators game tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. D. Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will host the Edmonton Oilers tonight at 7. Pre-game starts at 6 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The Predators held an optional morning skate today. Andrew Burnett said that there possibly could be a lineup change or two, but did not divulge what those possible lineup changes were. Of course, the big news, Connor McDavid suffered an ankle injury on Monday against the Columbus Blue Jackets that will keep him out for at least 2 weeks. So Connor McDavid will not be in the lineup tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm sure Predators fans are breathing a collective sigh of relief, though Leon Draisaitl will still be in the lineup. But we have a caller, Scott from Hendersonville, is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com with a Preds comment. Scott, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, a comment and a question. First, you can address this after the comment. What's the latest on Spencer Stastny? I haven't heard anything on him since training camp. But secondly, and I know this is not the Preds' biggest issue, but one thing I've noticed, and I haven't heard it discussed, is I think this team really misses Kiefer Sherwood. There's just something missing on that identity line last year. There's not much as an identity. And I like what LaRue in particular is bringing, but he just had that ability to get under the opponent's skin and was down there buzzing around like a hornet on the third forecheck. And McCarron creates some havoc at times too down there, and Smith too. But that line was causing a lot more problems and getting guys on opponents off their game. And thing that seems to be missing this year, to compound all the problems we're having with the lack of timing and the terrible turnovers. Just wanted your thoughts on that.
Thanks, Scott. So to answer Scott's first question about Spencer Stastny, Jared asked Barry Trotz about Spencer Stastny on Tuesday, and Barry didn't have much clarity on the situation. I believe there were some photos that emerged on social media of Spencer Stastny skating, I think, back home.
Pick up.
Yeah,
hockey.
but I don't think there's any clarity on when or if Spencer Stastny will return to the Predators.
It doesn't look like it's on the verge of happening anytime soon. If you listen to Barry's answer, and you can always go back and listen.
Yes,
exactly what Barry Trotz said. He is as transparent as they come.
Mm-hmm.
But on that issue, it's a personal matter. He is not, I don't think, officially in the league program.
He is not. It would have been announced. It has not been announced.
So they have given him time away from the team to address whatever he's addressing, and they have not been specific on what it is. And I think they hope that someday he'll return, but there's no timetable, and according to Barry Trotz. And so it's a tough deal, because I think Spencer Stastny would have been a very big part of the puzzle here.
Yes.
A very useful defenseman that could help them a lot with his speed and skating ability, his fit for the Andrew Burnett system. So it's unfortunate. So I wouldn't expect anything anytime soon. I would say for him to get back and to get in condition to play, you would think there would have to be a conditioning stint. It would be weeks, months before, best case scenario, you would see him. And we don't know if he's even close to coming back and joining the team as of now. It's a good question about the fourth line, right? We've talked a lot about that. The minuses, 5-on-5 in general, but particularly for the fourth line, it hasn't had the same magic as Scott was pointing out. He's right to point that out. And Kiefer Sherwood, I think, was a really big part of that. It kicked in for Kiefer Sherwood, who's a regular scratch for about 2 months last year. He wasn't really a factor for a while, but it happened around the time of the U2 thing. He found his game, and that trio found the chemistry. I do think, Adam, that Zach LaRue can provide the right ingredient for Cole Smith and Michael McCarron, who have not had great seasons yet compared to last year. But that's a wait and see.
So what you're saying is that Kiefer Sherwood finally found what he had been looking for around that time?
Yes, for him. And what he ended up getting was a multi-year contract with the Canucks, who he played well in the playoffs against.
Yes.
But and I'm really happy for Kiefer Sherwood, but the fact is, you have to be able to replace the Kiefer Sherwoods of the world.
No disrespect to Kiefer Sherwood, who has, by the way,
awesome.
five points in 9 games for the Canucks.
He's
2 goals,
an
3
awesome
assists.
story. He's an awesome story who had to wait for years in the AHL to get this opportunity, to get a guaranteed multi-year contract. So I am thrilled for him. And they do miss him. But this is where your farm system with guys like Zach Leroux need to fill the gaps, right? And I don't think Cole Smith looks like the same player yet to me. He hasn't found his groove. Same thing with McCarron. But I think they have done enough that the coaching staff still trusts that you'll start to see what they were providing last year. And I do hope that Zach Leroux grows into the role and earns the trust of the coaching staff as well, because I think they have the makings of a good identity line there.
So this morning, the Predators held an optional morning skate, and I happened to be downstairs when Andrew Burnett was doing his news conference. And one thing we've talked about through the first 9 games of the season is that the Predators, for all of the shots on net that they're getting, they haven't been doing a good job of getting shots on net from the high percentage scoring areas. And I asked Andrew Burnett if he feels that I asked him if he feels like has the quantity started catching up, or excuse me, has the quality started catching up with the quantity? And he said no. He still feels like it's a work in progress. And I asked him, that wasn't an issue last season. Your team was quite good at getting to those grade A scoring chance areas last season. So I asked him what the difference was. And this is something we've talked about, Willie, and you've talked about with him as well. He mentioned that he feels like there might be too much, deferring to certain players in those areas. Maybe Steven Stamkos, maybe Jonathan Marchessault, guys who were brought in to be goal scorers. Maybe there's an extra pass that's being made there instead of just shooting the puck. But he does feel as if though the quality is still not up to par with the quantity in terms of shots on goal.
Yeah, Barry Trotz echoed that, I think, with Jared on Tuesday. He said the one area that we've got to get ironed out is 5-on-5. I think the continuity is coming along. The resiliency, to use the Barry Trotz term, is coming along. That will to win, that urgency, the that gutsiness that maybe was missing, that edge to their game when they were losing the first 5. I think that's coming around, but still the connectivity is not where it needs to be. D-Mace, it was funny, the deferring, right? I always, my reference point is the pickup basketball game where you're the new guy and you're trying to show all the good players that I'm deferring to you. I'm passing to the guy that I know I'm trying to win the respect of because I know he's good. And after a while, that guy, if I'm passing to him, even though he's double teamed, he's going to get mad at me saying, no, look, you're the open guy. Exactly. Shoot the ball. You're all right. I think Tommy Novak and some of those guys might be deferring to Steven Stamkos some. We talked about it in football a lot with the guys like DeAndre Hopkins. And, do you sometimes throw it to him when he's not open just because, hey, I got to make sure D-Hop likes me. I'm the quarterback. I want to show that I'm trying to get him involved.
Yeah, and this is what this is the question that I asked before the season even started because, just adding those players doesn't automatically turn your franchise around. It's the chemistry you build between, the new players and the players that have been there. And then when you bring players in like Stamkos, a guy that has been known to score goals, or Marchessault, these guys that are known to score goals, sometimes you bring them in a situation, it's one or two things happen. It's either they defer to them to try to get them involved, and it's like, no, y'all have the shot, take it. Continue doing what y'all do. Don't change everything up us. Allow us to sort of fit in. Or it's the other way, them deferring to the other guys because they're trying to fit in. I think there needs to be a balance between the two if you want it to work. It has to be at times, okay, yeah, I'm deferring to you. And then on the flip side, but we all got to work at this as a team. It can't be because you the new guy, we always and you're double team, we're going to give it to you anyway. No, play the way y'all play and allow me to sort of fit in, get in where I fit in and allow me to find my game within the scheme that y'all are running.
The first power play in Tampa, I thought was a great example of that, where everybody in the building who are Lightning fans, like, please do not let Stamkos get that one-timer against us. We're not going to let them do that. and they still were trying to force the puck to Stamkos. And I'm sure Stamkos is sitting there going, guys, they're all over me.
Yeah,
They're not
take it.
Take it. It's open over there. And then the first power play didn't go very well. And Stamkos, I'm sure, probably said something to guys that they're going to try to take that away. What else is there? And on the second power play where they really needed to get back in the game, you could see that they had some other looks, and they ended up getting a really big power play goal that got the game going in their direction.
So Connor McDavid out tonight for the Oilers. He rarely misses games. He missed a big chunk of his rookie season. He broke his collarbone. But since his second season, which was the 2016-17 season, if I recall correctly off the top of my head, this will be the 20th game since 2016 that Connor McDavid has missed. He does not miss a lot of games. And as you might expect, the Oilers' record without him is not great. Their power play struggles without him. They don't score as many goals without him, which is, again, not a shock to anybody who watches Connor McDavid play hockey. He is the straw that stirs the drink. But I'm curious to see how the Predators face this challenge tonight, because the Oilers, in many ways, are in a similar position as the Predators. The Oilers made it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final last season, of course, but high expectations for the Oilers. They've struggled out of the gate, just as there were high expectations for the Predators because of all the signings they had, and they've struggled out of the gate. These teams could be the two unluckiest teams in the NHL when you consider the quality of chances versus how many goals they've actually scored. So, I mean, the Oilers, I think, are the unluckiest team. I think the Predators are in the neighborhood. So, although Connor McDavid will not play tonight, and that's one less thing the Predators have to worry about, you still have Leon Draisaitl. You still have a power play that can strike fear in an opponent. Interesting wrinkle for that power play, by the way. Connor McDavid off the power play, obviously. Matthias Ekholm being inserted onto the top power play for the Oilers tonight alongside Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, and Bouchard. So Matthias Ekholm will have an opportunity on the top power play. But I'm not saying the Predators are doing this at all. But they need to guard against the fact that Connor McDavid's not going to be out on the ice and not take the Oilers lightly, considering the situation.
I think that is the human nature thing. You got to fight. I think the Predators, I think they'd be right to focus. This would be the Coach Willie speak. Focus on building their game, right? Don't focus on, hey, we should have an easy night tonight because McDavid's not there. If you do that, you are ripe to get beat. I think it's, hey, they played us before. Where did they not play well? Where did the Predators not play? Get the job done the last time they played the Oilers. Work on trying to get that overall game where it looked last week. The one good 60-minute game they played was last week against the Bruins. Looked more like that team, and then the results will take care of itself. But I'm curious. This is something else Barry Trotz said, D-Mates, that I think you can appreciate. When you lose a top player, you're not as good a team, the Oilers, but what happens is everybody rallies around it, right? Everybody says, we got to pick up the slack. We don't have McDavid tonight. I've got to be better.
Yeah, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, when a key player goes down, the team rallies around that. And they may be able, sometimes it's in a form of they come out and they're hitting on every cylinders. And it just seems like a wave of things are just coming at you at the beginning of the game. And then it sort of fizzles out, or you find your footing, meaning the other team, you find your footing, and then you can sort of overcome, sort of that momentum that they generated because they didn't, have their best players. You just have to, I think as a team, when an individual or a team's best player goes down, the opposing team, in this case, the Nashville Predators, I think what you need to do is, that they're going to come out, on their deal. They're going to come out with attention to detail. They're going to come out like there's no tomorrow. You got to be able to weather that storm because they can't hold that same intensity for 3 periods. So if you weather that storm, they're going to get some good shots on goal. But if you weather that, like Elliot said, you make a good save early that kind of shifts the momentum your way. I think ultimately, the best team that night will win. But if you don't, sort of douse the fire of that onslaught that is coming at you, then they're going to pretty much take that throughout the whole game. So, you just got to understand that even though their best player isn't playing, that doesn't mean that these guys are going to come out and lay it down. A lot of times they come out even more focused on trying to win a game, whether it be hockey, baseball, football, it don't matter. You just gotta, do the things that you do, and then sort of be able to withstand sort of that first period onslaught that is going to come at you, because they're going to come out and they're going to be playing fast.
615-737-1025. Predators and Oilers tonight at 7 o'clock right here at Bridgestone Arena. Pre-game starts at 6. Also right here on 1025, 1063. The game. Coming up next, we'll wrap up the show. We have a Thursday night football matchup. We'll do that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063. The game.
Market calendars, November 9th, the Iron Goddess all-female show is coming to Nashville, which is sponsored by our friends over at Law Tigers. Meet us at the fairgrounds. That female riders from all over the world will be in attendance. Come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sports bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets now at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. That's IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. Enjoy a day of live music, vendor village, tasty foods, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with a paid ticket. So get your ticket today. IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. Can't wait to see you there.
D. Mays, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Live at Bridgestone Arena for Predators and Oilers on Halloween night. Stillman and Company coming up next. Also right here, live from Bridgestone Arena. So at the beginning of the show, we talked about the Yankees' massive collapse in the World Series as the Los Angeles Dodgers won the pennant. So you know those New York fans, they're upset. It's been a tough day for New York fans. I get it. So, you know what's the best way to cure those blues? Watching the New York Jets, because that's what they can do tonight.
The favored New York Jets.
The New York Jets, the 2-6 New York Jets are favored by 2 points. I see here over the visiting Houston Texans.
How could
They
that
got
be?
injuries. I mean, Houston has injuries, man. They
Okay.
lost 2 of their wide receivers. I don't know when Nico's back, Nico Collins, but they lost Diggs for the season.
But still, the Jets have looked so poor.
Yeah, I
They just
know.
lost to
but-
the Patriots.
According to the NFL, the Jets have lost 5 consecutive games after starting the season 2-1, which included a win against the Titans. This is the 3rd year in a row the Jets have had a 5+ game losing streak, the only team in the NFL to do so.
Well, at least the Titans ain't under that.
At least it's not the Titans, I suppose.
At least it's not the Titans.
That's what we're hanging our hat on. At least the Titans are not the Jets.
Exactly.
But yes, the Jets favored in the Meadowlands against the Texans tonight, as Derek mentioned, dealing with some injury. Stephon Diggs out for the year, but still 6-2 to start the season. The first time they've started 6-2 or better since 2012.
Yeah, I mean they're a good team. I think they've slowed down a little bit. You know, the quarterback's still playing well, but he's not playing like he was before. You know, his receivers went down, namely Nico Collins. That was their big play guy. Then when he went down, and then now, you know, Diggs go down, they're gonna have to find because everyone else is making moves. See, the problem with the Houston Texans is their guys got hurt too late. You know, and now the receivers that could have possibly moved, they could have possibly went and got, those guys are gone. You're talking about Deontay Johnson, who's got traded to the Baltimore Ravens, Adams, Cooper, guys like that, Hopkins. Those guys are with teams now. So Houston is almost like they got to weather the storm until Nico Collins come back, and then kind of deal with it that way.
I'm also really curious to see what the Jets look like going forward here after making the trade for Devontae Adams and reuniting him with Rodgers. And
it didn't look no different last week.
They've
when they
doubled
Adams.
down on all that stuff. Yeah, it has not looked good at all. And Rodgers has not played well.
They
at
can't
all.
help
He's
but
not
double
getting
down.
any younger. So they've already played a lot of the cards. They've traded for Adams. They changed the coach. They're trying to appease
They
Rodgers.
changed the
Rodgers
offensive
hasn't played
coordinator.
well. Changed the offensive coordinator. So what do they have left? Like, is this?
Well, tell the owner to sell the team. That's what they need to do, because obviously he hasn't made a good decision for that franchise since he's had it. He hasn't. Just look at the last time the Jets were relevant is when Rex was there, back-to-back AFC Championship games.
That's going back a ways now.
And then they just all of a sudden just fell off the map from there. Made some
Ever since
poor
the butt
moves.
fumble.
Ever since the butt fumble, you're right. They made
Turning
some
point.
poor moves, and then I think what really put them behind the 8 ball is the all in for Rodgers. All that they did for Aaron Rodgers, and basically he runs the organization in a sense, because you made all these moves to accommodate him, and it's not working. So now you just almost got to double down. Like, all right, we'll go get Adams. We'll do this. We'll do that. But you're setting yourself back even further as a team.
It's gotten so bad that Chris Mad Dog Russo, who's on First Take, said, I don't want to hear about Aaron Rodgers again until the Jets are 500. I don't want to see him on McAfee. I don't want to talk about him on this show. That Aaron Rodgers is taking it on the chin. If we know one thing about Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he takes criticism very well.
It's a
I just get
fragile
that vibe
with that. Yeah.
Back
It's a
into
little
the
sensitive.
darkness, Aaron Rodgers goes. But if I'm a Yankees fan, I'm still torn up about what happened last night. I can't think of any way to feel better than to sit in front of the television with my family and turn on the New York Jets.
I would say there's less crossover between Jets fans and Yankees fans.
I guess that is
but
true.
it is-
It's Jets
yeah.
Mets. It's Jets Mets, right?
More Jets Mets,
Okay.
than not.
I
But
can't wait for the 30 for 30 to come out with this series and the Yankees and the Dodgers, because you know they're going to show the whole ball thing, the guys taking the ball from Mookie Betts, and all. I can't wait for that to come out.
I'm thinking there's some late night or late edition Halloween costumes of the guys, the goofballs taking the ball out of the Mookie's glove. Like there's probably something you could do.
Well,
with
there
that
was a
Halloween
time.
party
There was
wise.
a time in Chicago where the #1 Halloween costume was
yeah.
Steve Bartman, the turtleneck and the and the radio and the
Glasses,
Walkman.
the radio
the
Walkman.
the Walkman. See, with Steve Bartman, he was just trying to make a play on the ball.
Yeah.
That it happens. I mean, obviously the
that was egregious what they did.
Yes.
The other day. That wasn't being a part. That wasn't just getting caught up in, I want to catch the ball. And that was more so of you deliberately try to take the ball out of the man's hand.
And it would have served no purpose. He caught the ball. The
Caught
play's
it.
over. Like
Yeah.
what do you? Don't even get me started. I've already said my piece on that. That was pathetic.
That's just don't let them back in the stadium.
So I'm
Please
trying to think what will be the best Halloween costumes that we see like tonight in the arena. I'm sure some people are going to come strong.
Oh yeah,
people are going to be out and about trick or treating. Like what are some of the best costumes of the season? Do we know? What are the trends telling us?
That's a
Adam?
good question. I mean,
What are the trendy ones?
all I know is that my son is going to be Spider-Man. That's
Art-
all. That's all I know.
I guarantee you. Okay, there are going to
Yes.
be a lot of Art the Clown because the new movie just came out. The what was it called? I forget the name of the movie. It's not Slasher, but Art the Clown. So they even had 3 movies. This was a big
The
box office.
Terrifier?
Yeah, the Terrifier. Yes. So there's going to be some Art the Clowns out there. You always go. You can't go wrong with Michael Myers. You can't.
Those are the traditional ones.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong.
I saw someone dressed up as Tyreek Hill, and 2 kids were the cops.
Oh man!
Oh, my goodness.
That's in poor taste.
Oh man!
What would the Jarrett Stillman Halloween costume look like?
I don't know. Okay, put a megaphone on and just let it go loud, just loud out to everybody. That'd be a costume, the Jared costume. But other than that, I don't know.
Maybe there'll be a little Willie Donick walking around here.
Probably not. Miles Garrett had a good one though. He had the Terminator.
The Terminator, I saw.
Yeah, but he really did. I didn't know. You could have no idea who it was if they hadn't said it was Miles Garrett.
And he got the
That was
seal of
really good.
approval from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He shared
Yeah.
it on social media. He had it done by a legitimate Hollywood costume
It took
design
effort.
person.
It took effort
It
to
wasn't
do
just
that.
the Spirit
Throw the-
Halloween Party City Terminator mask.
So are the Preds encouraging costumes tonight?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
That's what I said. Listen, I am calling for a hat trick. And
Okay.
then I am calling for the mask, the Halloween mask, to be thrown on the ice.
Who's getting the hat trick?
Oh boy, gosh. Forsberg. Can I say Forsberg?
That's a
You
good
know I
question.
love Tommy Novak,
I
but
know.
I don't think
Tommy
he's not gonna
Novak
get-
is your
he's not-
guy.
Yeah, he's not gonna get a hat trick.
Tommy Novak
Stamkos?
is your guy. Well, he seems
You,
close. to
Coach
breaking
Willie
out.
is not gonna say anything.
Coach
now.
Willie's not saying anything. I do know that Stamkos is tracking the number of shots, the close calls. If he gets some bounces, that they will start to go in. Forsberg, I remind everybody last year, had 1 goal in the first, 10 or 12 games. He had an incredibly low shooting percentage. He was getting shots. They weren't going in. He ended up with 48 goals. So things will turn. Things will happen.
Predators, Oilers tonight at 7. Pregame starts at 6 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company coming up next.